that asked the question, but really it was a rhetorical question to point out that there are a lot of principles the American right claims to believe in and crusades for that seem to disappear whenever their pet issues emerge. And in particular, the issue that seems to cause those principles to scatter most rapidly and inevitably is the issue of Israel. Not just the question of free speech, although there are two, but also the idea of anti-interventionism. I mean, I've been asking for months now, how can you be on the American right and oppose the U.S. support for the war in Ukraine, which is an ally of the United States, and then turn around and insist that the United States should do for Israel exactly what you don't want to do for Ukraine? Those don't seem to be reconcilable to me. But also the attacks on free speech, some of the most severe ones that have been going on in this country for years now, are ones that are aimed at pro-Palestinian voices, both on college campuses, but even more broadly. And I think probably the single greatest assault on the First Amendment from a pure legal perspective, meaning laws that were actually enacted, were these laws that were enacted primarily in red states, although not entirely. Andrew Cuomo did it as well, that essentially said that if you support a boycott of Israel, you will be barred from being hired by the state for any contracting work. In other words, you have to sign a pledge saying that you don't support a boycott of Israel. We've covered this for years. Federal courts have almost unanimously ruled these to be unconstitutional. And yet, just this week, Ron DeSantis said, we're putting this company on one of these monitoring lists because we think that they're supporting the boycott of Israel. So the American right has objected and been, I think, important and effective in opposing a lot of this censorship that is seen online, and with regard to the attempt to curtail political speech in the name of fighting disinformation and hate speech. And they've been my ally in that cause. But I always knew and have frequently pointed out that there are issues, particularly Israel, where I knew that those principles, not for all of them, because there have been some who've been consistent, but for many of them, if not most, would simply disappear and therefore really weren't principles at all.
I mean, really credit to the people who have been consistent. I'm very grateful. I've said this before. Robbie, my co-host, has been very consistent about these things. And I know he just wrote another piece in Reason magazine, Libertarian magazine, where he writes condemning a lot of the things that have been coming out of Florida and Ron DeSantis in particular. I just saw you did an interview with Brad Palumbo, who seems like he's been consistent on this. But I wondered, though, are you surprised? Have you had any conversations with people like Dave Rubin or others who I think really did show some allyship on these issues when the underlying issue was, in fact, something that they were also politically aligned with? And do you have any sense of why or what their internal reasoning is when they flip-flop so readily on the issue of Palestine?
Yeah, I mean, I want to just throw a couple other names in there that are important conservative names who have been consistent, including Vivek Ramaswamy, who denounced these billionaire-led cancel culture campaigns to make these students unhireable by putting them on blacklists, as well as Candace Owen, who very publicly attacked Megyn Kelly for defending these cancel culture campaigns. But the issue, I mean, with Dave Rubin, and we did a couple of segments on him on our show, he didn't just become an ally in free speech. He built his whole career, Brianna, on feigning a support for free speech, the virtues of engaging people in debate rather than trying to vilify them or censor them. He has basically said the problem with the West is that we no longer abide by liberalism in the sort of classical sense of that term of allowing free and open debate, but instead impose orthodoxy. So for him to turn around and not just kind of acquiesce to censorship, but to openly cheer it. I mean, the day that France imposed a nationwide ban on all pro-Palestinian protests, even while pro-Israel protests are still completely legitimate. So you can have a protest to support French policy in the Middle East, but not one that opposes it. Dave Rubin said, oh, it looks like there may be hope for the West after all, meaning now suddenly the problem with the West isn't censorship, the salvation for the West is censorship. And we did ask several people on who have been on my show before, whose shows I've been on, including Dave Rubin and others, who I pointed out to them, to me, seemed quite inconsistent when it came to this issue, to come on my show, or for me to come on their show, I don't really care where it's done, and try and understand how they can reconcile these two positions. And unfortunately, I haven't had any takers. There are a lot of people who are very busy, who have a lot of health problems with their family, even though they don't have any problem going on Twitter and cheering for censorship. They apparently are too busy to come on my show and explain why they're doing it. So I'm going to keep pressing the point as much as I can.
Can you walk us through the details of Ron DeSantis' latest? Because I saw you did a segment on this, and that to me is one of the more galling instances that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of this, and this doesn't mitigate it at all, is that there are a lot of people, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, have done similar things on free speech, who are desperate to find a way to save their failing political campaigns. And I think there's this competition to prove who is more pro-Israel. And so by arguing, oh, we should even censor Israel critics is one way to do it. But in Ron DeSantis' case, unlike Nikki Haley and Tim Scott, he's not just calling for things to happen. He's exercising his power, abusing his power as governor to make them happen. What he did was he ordered the entire public university system in Florida. So that's the University of Florida, Florida State University, the University of South Florida, Florida International University, a lot of serious, major, large college campuses to ban, to de-credential one pro-Palestinian group in particular, which he claims isn't just engaging in free speech against Israel and in defense of Palestine and Palestinians, but is even going further by somehow their speech is becoming material support for terrorism, which is a felony. It's a crime for which people go to prison in the war on terror for 20, 25 years. And I mean like the worst prisons, like the special prisons they created for Muslims accused of terrorism crimes. And there were a couple cases in the Obama administration that I covered where the Obama Justice Department would prosecute Muslims, usually young Muslims, for doing things like uploading videos to YouTube that criticized U.S. foreign policy, and they would use like 5 or 10 seconds of a Hezbollah video, and they would get accused of materially supporting terrorism. But it was a huge civil liberties backlash when they tried to do that, and the kind of consensus became, and the Supreme Court even said in the Holder case versus humanitarian law, that material support for terrorism can't be composed solely of political speech. There needs to be something more than that to be accused of that. Otherwise, it's a violation of the First Amendment. You're criticizing political speech. And that's what Ron DeSantis is doing, to the point that he's now demanding that a ban be imposed on a pro-Palestinian student group.
Joining me now is Victor Davis Hanson, Hoover Institution Senior Fellow. Victor, there's an opportunity that Republicans, I think, need to take advantage of here as Biden sees his own base turning against him. But you see there is a push to lurch back to the establishment and the pro-war coalition of the Republican Party as well.
Yeah, I think Kamala Harris had it absolutely backwards. All these issues, the border, the trans issue with biological males competing in women's sports, inflation, they all offend the inner city blacks, Hispanics, and now they've alienated over the Israel question the Jewish community. And they can get away with this, Laura, historically when they have a hard left base and they can veneer it over with a very rhetorical, mellifluous Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, they get away with it. But otherwise, when they have a George McGovern or Jimmy Carter, it doesn't work. And that left becomes more pronounced. And that's what Joe Biden is. He's a force multiplier because of his cognitive problems and really his meanness, his corruption problems. He's a force multiplier of this division. And we're starting to see now this, Gaza really tore this scab off, and we're seeing a putrid wound of what the Democratic Party is. It's pro, the basis, let's face it, it's pro-Hamas, it's pro-open borders, it's pro-ban gas engines and natural gas stoves, and that doesn't appeal to middle-class people. It only appeals to the very wealthy bicoastal elite and the subsidized poor. And they have a real problem because they can't paper it over with a guy like Joe Biden. He's as I said, Jimmy Carter and George McGovern redukes. So it gives enormous opportunity for a populist Republican Party to appeal to these disaffected voters. And if they can unite around a candidate that can do that, they'll win, and they'll win overwhelmingly.
Well, over at MSNBC, you'll be shocked to know, Victor, that the elites from the Council on Foreign Relations, those types, they're panicking that America actually might move back to focusing on America first. Watch this.
We've gone from America first under Donald Trump to alliance first under Joe Biden. This is a partnership-based foreign policy. If Donald Trump were to come back, suddenly these partnerships would all be placed at risk. Foreign policy implications of this election are arguably going to be greater than any election in modern history.
Victor, what are all those alliances? Have I missed the huge amount of money that Europe is putting into the war in Ukraine? Have I missed that?
They don't understand that the world is being remade before our very eyes, Laura. We're not an ally of Turkey anymore. Turkey really doesn't belong in NATO. We see that. Qatar is working hand in glove with Hamas, and yet we have a CENTCOM base in Qatar. And they keep talking about offensive operations and disproportionate use of force in Ukraine. And that's exactly what they tell the Israelis not to do. So they're incoherent. They never tell us we're going to have X amount of billions of dollars for these programs for foreign aid. And some of it's probably arguably necessary, especially with Israel. But they never tell us where the money's coming from. We're going to cut here to spend here, or we're going to tax. They never do. It's always we're going to print more money for this agenda. And then we look at it and we say, well, how did Libya turn out? How did Syria turn out? Why is Turkey threatening to attack our ally Israel? What is Qatar doing with CENTCOM? And then it's
joining us now here with Reaction, Fox News contributor, Lieutenant Colonel in the Army Reserves, Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat. When you hear these massive numbers of people coming into our country, and Joe is letting them in from Syria, Iran, Russia, China, and China's buying up thousands of acres of farmland, thousands of acres of ranch land, thousands of acres near military installations, and you look at Joe Biden's policies on the border, giving up energy security, law and order. You see this chaos abroad. Tulsi, what has happened to the party you once called home? Is there any of this that you agree with? Because I don't think you do.
No, this is one of the main reasons, Sean, that I left the Democrat Party. It is clear, and it has been for some time, that they don't care about the safety, security, or freedom of the American people. And they have become apologists for these Islamist jihadists. And Sean, I got to tell you, for those like me, the many Americans like me who enlisted in the military because of the 9/11 jihadist terrorist attack on us, this is incredibly offensive. You know, I've deployed 3 times to war zones in the Middle East and in Africa. I know how serious this threat of Islamist jihadism is. The Democrat elite, they don't care. They don't care. They leave our borders wide open, which we know are being exploited by these Islamist terrorists. And they redirect our security infrastructure, our assets, our intel assets, not towards focusing on these terror threats that are coming through our borders and elsewhere. They're focusing them on fellow Americans. They're focusing them on people who they have deemed as domestic terrorism threats or extremists, also known as people who are supporters of President Donald Trump or conservatives. And I want to point out, really, Sarah mentioned this, but most importantly, We know that Iran has sleeper terrorist cells here in America. And unlike the Al-Qaeda, these terrorist sleeper cells have the access and capability and may have already brought in nuclear material into this country, waiting to be activated. And if used, could launch an attack here, right here at home, that would make 9/11 look small in comparison. So the graveness of the threats that we face right now, Sean, because of the failures of this administration, the Democrat elite, because they do not care about us, our safety, or our security, this is what we're facing.
I think, especially with the UN, Jennifer Griffin reporting that the next chair of the Human Rights Commission at the Human Rights Council at the UN is going to be Iran. Yet we fund most of that organization. The WEF, the WHO, with coronavirus. Why are we a part of these globalist organizations, number one? And number two, what should America's role be if Turkey, if Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, Syria are all after one country? What should America's role be? We only have about a minute.
Well, I want to make the most of this time, Sean. You're right. The leaders of our country are not putting the best interests, the security interests of the American people first. The example you cited earlier about Turkey's Erdogan citing Hamas as being freedom fighters. Well, Erdogan himself is part of the Muslim Brotherhood. Erdogan himself is a supporter of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Erdogan himself has murdered our he should have been kicked out a long time ago. But American leaders don't have the courage to do what is necessary. That's the problem.
You know what?
Welcome to a special Wednesday edition of the Nick and CJ Show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Nick?
What's popping, my friends, my family? Welcome back. Welcome back to RBN Nick and CJ edition. Apologize for missing the post-duopoly show. I had some internet issues, so I decided I got everything fixed like an hour in, but at that point, you guys was in the flow of things.
Yeah.
It was already 4-person panel. Like, let's just join CJ on Tuesday because there's a lot to talk about. I'm glad that I didn't see the conversation that Bree had with Glenn. I'm very behind generally on independent media, but I'm glad that Glenn has been taking the offensive against these fraudulent right-wing populists. That's another dub for RB and CJ.
Yes.
Search my account, and this is. And
you call him out the most. I gotta admit, like this is one topic that kind of goes like I just don't even think about calling out the conservatives on this same issue, and you are consistently doing that on RBN at least.
Yeah. So like a lot of these like right-wing accounts will follow me because I bash Joe Biden Democrats every once in a while on Twitter. And then whenever I see like a MAGA name follow me, I'm like, I got you, bitch. now that you guys see I'm not a Democrat, now I'm going to show you guys why you are frauds. And that's why I have done consistently. I have explained that right-wing populism is just white identity politics. And that's why it's funny because a lot of these same conservative-minded people who follow me, they're like, man, I like RBN, but they engage too much in identity politics. Like, no, we don't. We talk about the material conditions of our community, the fact that we're the highest homeless population, the fact that we're victims of state violence. These are material conditions, very important things about politics. But when you look at the right, what they engage in, like, for example, there would be someone who live in Kentucky, but all they do is tweet about the trans issue. As if there's like one trans person within 100-mile radius of this guy, but that's an issue he cared deeply about. You know what I mean? Like, so that's their politics. And now the Israel issue is exposing that. Because what is one of the examples I've been quoting as why the right wing is full of shit on free speech? I kept bringing up the BDS issue. Remember, CJ? I was like, you guys keep saying the right for free speech, but what about BDS? And be like, oh, whatever. Same thing with RFK people, John Fairman people, the people that try and pretend that Israel Palestine is not a big deal. I'm like, now that take age like milk, right?
Yeah, terrible.
That take like age like milk. And now you see this hypocrisy that the right had on Israel Palestine being shown in a big way, in exactly the way I've been calling it out. The only people who've been consistently for free speech are the communists and Marxists on my side of the politics, the RBN left. The Black Agenda Report left. Mark Campbell, John Brockett. Like we are the only people in politics that have been consistent on civil rights issues. Maybe a few libertarians, but we sniffed these
Yeah, there's
cowards
some
out.
there.
But CJ, feel free to chime in because this is a story I'm gonna cover. You have Joe Biden and Donald Trump. They are teaming up by using identity politics, the weaponization of anti-Semitism, to sic the police state on people that are engaging in their freedom of speech. And the same MAGA right-wing people who pretended that they was freedom fighters of free speech have nothing to say about it. They're quiet as a mouse. They got 1,000 excuses on why we need to censor Palestinian activists. But CJ, feel free. I'll pass to you if you have anything you want to add.
There's a lot, and the reason I play those videos, Nick, is simply because we can't cover everything. So I simply play some of those videos in the beginning, just so our audience can know. If you haven't seen this, look at this. And that was one of them, was the Bree Glenn. I hadn't even gotten around to even being able to watch it. So I was like, oh, you know what, let's at least get it started where people will be like, oh, if they haven't seen it, let me go check this out. And it's great to see advocates like Glenn. And one thing I do always give kudos to Bree about is that with all of our differences in strategy on electoral politics that we have with her, she has those guests that is needed to be have where those conversations here and there. I'm not saying every episode she does, but it's like it'll be like, oh, that like the episode with Sam Cedar about forced to vote. That was a needed episode to have. She'll have those sort of conversations. There was another one I can't remember. Maybe the Cornel West one. This one we just showed with Glenn Greenwald is it's a must watch. You got to watch. And then to get to some of the other videos, like the Tulsi video, I want to throw this comment up, Nick. Before I started, is not a super chat, but I started because I want to throw this one up as I put this back up here. And I'll read it. It says, Tulsi, love you, but you must learn your history, Palestine, and then you will understand the ethnic cleansing that is going on, financed by USA on support of evil Israel. And Marvin Vargas is a regular here. I'm sure you recognize the name. So what's up, Marvin, comrade, a member of our community. I do have a little pushback because I have been one that's always been on the side of critiquing Tulsi Gabbard. I don't really take her all that serious.
You don't understand politician work yet. I literally don't get at this point. Like it's the whole that's foreign to me.
I know it offends not offends, but I know some people like Tulsi, like Marvin apparently, and I know like Nico was somebody that supports Jimmy Dore. So now that I'm in this space, I know I gotta I have to change my adjectives. I'm still gonna have the same critique, but just change my adjectives about it, because to have her, this interview, Nick, to me is an illustration of how she's just doing shit for money.
Yeah.
That's what this is an illustration about. Go ahead if you wanted to also change.
Yeah, and I don't understand the era of still having even respect for politicians, right? Because people like Tulsi Gabbard, they make my skin crawl more than almost anyone else in politics. If you look at my old YouTube channel, I met Tulsi Gabbard, fam, in South Carolina. She had a political event. Fam, she met my black radical ass, and we got along great. Like, because she had like a sit-in. I explained it on my video, I'll be short, but we had like a sit-in and she was just talking to people. So only like 8 people, I was 1 of 8. So I had a lot to say. And we were talking about Hillary. I mean, we were talking about war. And I was talking about criminal justice, because that was something I was like, all right, I like your criminal justice policy. And then she sounded like a radical abolitionist talking to me, fam. Because we were talking about how much we hated the police. We were talking about how U.S. Bro, when she talked to me, she sounded like a radical fucking Marxist. And then she recognized me like, yeah, Nick, good to see you. Like, we was very friendly and cordial to each other, because she knew, like, it was clear that I, more than the average person that went to the event, I knew what I was talking about, right? So meeting, and this is why I know all politics fake, because you get this aura from Tulsi, like she's a very charming person, right? And then to see her flip like this shit is not.
Yeah.
Everyone have progressions, but this shit is not natural. To completely flip on all of your positions, like she went from being a criminal justice advocate, calling out the police state, to now she's saying, "Oh my God, the left want to destroy the police." Like, no, that's not a realistic flip. It is absolutely not. So if you're a Tulsi fan, you gotta realize that she's a psychopath of the highest order. I met her, fam, and the fact that she can pretend to be a radical leftist in my face and be convincing, and then switch on a dime, that's a level of psychopath y'all can't even understand. And that's the average politician in Washington. Every single one of them.
At the time when you met her, did you even know her politics, or you knew a little of it, and that's why you
anti-war person? Like that.
Okay.
That was when I was still more of a social.
She plays that role. It's so funny how she's known by some people as anti-war, and she's known by some people as neocon. It's so funny, but it speaks to her ability to flip, because if you mention the word Islam, it ignites something in her that I've you've never seen. But for whatever reason, she's against Ukraine. And to me, if you're on opposite sides of you, like, to be for Ukraine but against Palestinians is such a bizarre position for me to understand from somebody, Nick. I just don't get the ability to. You have to have the ability to actually be blind about one of the positions in order to take opposite positions on there. But I do want to speak to this part here, and that's here at the end where I paused it, because this to me is sort of unhinged, and I'm using the word "sort of" just to lightly push back, not lightly, but to push back here. But listen to this.
Wait, Joe, with coronavirus, why are we a part of these globalist organizations, number one? And number two, what should America's role be if Turkey, if Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, Syria are all after one country? What should America's role be? We only have about a minute.
Well, I want to make the most of this time, Sean. You're right. The leaders of our country are not putting the best interest, the security interests of the American people first. The example you cited earlier about Turkey's Erdogan citing Hamas as being freedom fighters. Well, Erdogan.
She's very offended by Erdogan, and he seems to be very offended by Erdogan. Now, when they say kick Turkey out of NATO, we're like, oh, whatever, kick everybody out. Like, we don't care. But from their perspective, Nick, that's an insult, because NATO, you get what I'm saying, is this great thing, kick them out of NATO. And to me, that is pretty unhinged for Tulsi Gabbard, somebody who markets herself as anti-war, to be talking in this way about Turkey. Because, and this also speaks to another, like a separate issue. This also speaks to the problem that Israel puts United States in, is that Jordan and Turkey, are two of our supposed allies, are like, nah, fam, we ain't fucking with this shit. We about to toss down some shit for this. The Arab community is coming together against Palestine, and I'm so happy to see it. But what do you think about what she's saying here about Turkey, and how they, from the point of view how they view NATO, how they want to kick Turkey out to do what? Because they want to fight, have a military fight against NATO? Do they think they can't join a fight if Turkey joins? Is that some sort of rule that NATO has? Why do you think he's saying this, or both of them are saying this? You're muted. You're muted.
This shows how inconsistent Tulsi's overall worldview is. Because one of the reasons why Sean Hannity hate Erdogan in Turkey is because Turkey is someone who, they are part of NATO and Western institutions, but they don't always support Western back policies, and especially on the positions on Israel. They've been the lone vote that blocked Sweden and Ukraine from joining NATO, because he wanted to push back on how the Swedish and Kurd relationship. There are a lot of things that Erdogan did that piss off the establishment. So of course Sean Hannity don't like Erdogan. But Tulsi, you as someone who's supposed to stand up against the Ukraine war, someone who's supposed to be anti-war, anti-imperialist, someone who used to have this veil of fighting the establishment, why do you have the same opinion on Erdogan as Sean Hannity? Now, I don't want anyone to get into twisted. Erdogan is not like a left leader. He's not ran on like humanitarian principles.
Not at all.
He's very self-serving, but he's no worse than the average Western politician working on behalf of his own personal interests. And sometimes he opposes the United States and NATO. A lot of times he joined the United States and NATO. For example, he was open to allowing Sweden and Finland join NATO, as long as the West gave into his demands. One of them was Swedish stop arming the Kurds, something like that. So
yeah, I remember that. I remember
they
that.
do those things like that. So Tulsi following the line of Sean Hannity just shows she's a complete sellout of the establishment, like we always knew she was, especially when you picking sides of the Republican. If you're going to rebel against the Democratic Party because they don't think they treat you unfairly, then you go on the radical side against the duopoly. If you're a duopolist one way or another, it doesn't matter. Like, oh, let the Democratic Party. Now I'm Republican. Like, yo, are you probably a bigger clown than all of them? You know what I mean? How can you be a sweet summer child and then you volunteer to be a sweet summer child for the other side? So she, yeah, I don't. As I said earlier in the segment, I don't have much more to say because she's not even a serious person to me. Like, I don't cover Tulsi that much. Like, she's a clown of the highest order. And I say this as someone who met her. And obviously, I guess I probably should know better, and everyone should know this. But the performance that politicians put on, man, there's a reason why they get here. And I said this in my video. I'm like, man, it's crazy how these politicians are extremely charming. They win you over, and that's how she was. Like, when she talks to me, she's a radical leftist. She talked to Sean Hannity, she had a fucking neocon. Like, the term grifter gets thrown around a lot. But grifter is someone who says stuff they don't believe for money. That's what it is. So, like, people will call us grifters because they hate us. But how does it make sense to call us grifters when we fiercely advocate for our community and we're not making much money? But there are people like Tulsi who obviously sell out their previous positions. There's the entirety of the NATO left who sell out their positions for money and positions. It's the definition of the word grifter, a word I actually don't like to use a lot. But that's why I have
it's overused.
No respect for Tulsi. But go ahead, CJ.
No, I was gonna say because me too. I kind of stay away from grifter only because it's overly used. Like, yeah. I mean, it's just where the fact where it's like you clearly don't even know the meaning of the word. But we can close it there, Nick. You can start with your segment up next. I'll do some announcements just so you can get everything ready. Let me shout out the website and shout out a couple of fundraisers here. Here's the website. The website is where you can go to check out many things, one of which is our RBN merchandise. So make sure you check that out. When you click on the hyperlink for RBN here, we have 11 designs. 11 designs you can get on mugs. You can get the same 11 design on a tote bag, different color tote bags. You can get those same 11 designs on a t-shirt, on a tank top, on a hoodie, and I think a long sleeve shirt and a long sleeve sweater. I guess that's called a sweat shirt. So one of our more popular ones is the NATO is a terrorist organization. You can see it there. Another popular one, abolish the police. This one I wanted to show you only because you can see the many different colors that you can get. The lesser of two evils is what got us here. When you scroll over the image, you can see it close up, but lots of different colors to choose from. This one here, you can see a powdered blue. They got a pink, they got a yellow. So check these out on our website. And I think, Nick, that's going to be it. So I'm going to pass it to you. I'm going to take this down and pass it to you for our first segment.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot covered here. Feel free to interject anything you want to add because this segment is a doozy. I think we're going to have fun with this as well.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of pro-Palestine support. Like, this is crazy. And I always got to be careful with my words here because I don't think the sacrifice is worth it. You know what I mean? Like, because I've seen people say, well, at least we spread the word. I don't even like that say that because it's not worth it. You know, thousands and thousands of children died. So that's why I'm always very careful because it's not worth it. Like, even if this shit ends, it's still not fucking worth it, man. There's so many deaths. You know what I mean? But it better than not die for nothing, though, I guess. But because of the like outright, openly genocidal approach of Israel and their devastation in Gaza, and one of the most brutal massacres I've seen in my lifetime. Yeah, there have been conflicts with higher kill counts, but those are over a period of time. We're watching a fast massacre in the darkness that we never seen before. Like, it's fucking crazy what we are watching. So because of this, the long-term ramifications of what Israel has done is that Israel is isolated on the world stage. The United States and Israel is isolated. You have people from all over the world, even countries that are historically like U.S. backed, like people who, like countries who culturally don't oppose the United States, like South Korea. South Korea got a very staunch anti-communist culture, very staunch pro-U.S. culture, and even they having massive pro-Palestine demonstrations. Japan, another Western puppet, having big, giant Palestine protests. And I'm proud, as always, that during this giant international show of solidarity with the Palestinian people, RBN was out there in front as well. So we dropped this video. Big shout out to Aaron, who does amazing work for us, for helping us put these clips together. Because this is RBN at the Free Palestine protest. And trust me, CJ, I got a path for this segment. But I'm gonna start with this. Because
no worries.
These protests have the establishment nervous. It's very similar to the protests against the war on terror and the protests against the Vietnam War. I haven't seen the establishment that shook since these protests. Like, they are absolutely livid about this.
I agree.
And I take pride that RBN was there. Every single one of us, in some capacity, was there to speak to Palestinian people, to document what was going on. So just for a second, this segment to show you guys this just a very short part of this compilation, because it's 12 minutes. I'll only play a little bit. This is RBN at the Free Palestine events here.
Cornell West is here. You can see him marching there and taking pictures. And I just saw Cornell. I didn't see him the entire time.
No justice. No justice. This feature in LA.
Oh yeah, she put that's cool how she put the city name on there. That's cool.
Yeah, you can see all our activities in this 12-minute video. We just dropped it today. We'll just show a little bit.
Children have been killed. 649. That's this morning. You see how the numbers of our children dying change by the hour? 649 of our kids had to be buried. 649 just to flee. In 2008, it was 346. In 2014, it was 540. When will the world care? Enough is enough. We are here to deliver the voice of Palestinians and deliver the voice of the Gaza Strip. We need people to be aware of what is happening. What is happening right now is a catastrophe, but don't let anyone tell you a lie and tell you that this is a religious war. There are Christians among us today. There are Jews among us today. And if they were to go in front of the Zionist war machine, they would be shot at. We have been dehumanized. Enough is enough. We are not animals like that Zionist terrorist president of theirs told us. We are not animals. We are human beings. And we care about what is happening to them.
Dude, I was at the Kansas City protest, guys. You have no idea how upset I am that we don't have like high tech equipment. You know what I mean? Because there were so many good speeches. Remember the speech I told you about the 97-year-old that explained the history and how he had a Palestine passport and all that. We got a little bit of that footage in here as well. But there's so many of these amazing speeches with these Palestinian people explaining their story, explaining that it's not a religious conflict. I'm sure you met a lot of amazing people there as well. I think in this interview, I actually showed a little bit of my interview I had with one of the lead organizers. I played just a little bit of it. But this, like, Aaron is goated. This is why you guys gotta help us pay Aaron her fair labor value with the Patreon and GoFundMe, because these edits are incredible. Like, this is what Aaron put together. Big shout out. Much love to our editor, Aaron. So I'll just play a little bit more of this. Feel free to chime in if you want to, CJ. But I'll just play a little bit more.
What you guys are here for? Absolutely. So we're here, as always, to demand three things, which is an end to the 75-year-long occupation of Palestine, an end to the 16-year-long siege of the Gaza Strip, and an end for unconditional U.S. military, diplomatic, and financial support for Israel.
What will you say should people like me do?
I interviewed a few of these people. I have one clip I haven't posted where I interviewed one of the lead organizers, but I didn't like the sound of it. I don't have the best production while I'm on the ground. I'm still planning to possibly release it because it's good stuff. Maybe write an article about it on Substack or something. But this is one of the lead organizers here that I was talking to. I interviewed quite a few of them, and it was amazing to hear their perspective. Which is completely counter to what you were told about them. But go ahead, CJ. Feel free to chime in.
No, I think I think a time like this, I'm gonna put together. We have to get in order for us to do the work that we need to do, which is more of this type of work. We have to get the equipment. So we have to ask our community to help us raise some funds. We need to get some on the ground equipment so that we're able to attend, because this is the beginning.
You can see this video. You can see this
starting.
You can even see the video kind of awkward because I didn't want to get her face in there, right? But my camera had to be close enough so you can hear it, because the other video I didn't want to get her face, but now I realized, like, oh damn, you can't hear that much. That's why it's awkwardly shot, like just looking at her body, because I don't want to show her face, but you got to hear it. That's why it's shot this way. So one of these days, RB,
we're gonna do it. Yeah, I'll put something together to get it started, because we have to do this work. Everybody, because this is a historical time. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we just wait for the next time that this shit escalates. Like, we can't. This is the time is now. So go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, but I'll post this one because even though the camera may be awkward, you can still hear her, which I wish the other interviews like that. But anyway, I continue.
Or what other people can do that can help and support your cause?
I think it's really important for anybody who wants to understand this issue or who feels drawn to supporting it to understand that this is an issue that provides parallels all over the place. If you are interested, if you are somebody who is working on climate justice, let's talk about that and how it relates to Palestine. If you are interested in Black lives, let's talk about how that relates to Palestine. Let's talk about what racism looks like. Let's talk about what apartheid looks like. Let's talk about what ethnic cleansing.
Now, CJ, does this sound completely different from what the liberals are to say about the Palestinian people?
Yeah.
Remember the cultural imperialists that say, why do you support Palestine? They hate gay people. They hate Black people. Meanwhile, I'm at the Palestinian protest. We having a great time. We connecting with each other with our solidarity and our issues at the Palestinian Community Network. I got a great contact with many people in the Palestinian community. But I've seen so many liberals, they're like, why are you standing up with Palestinians? You know they don't like you. You know you hate gay people. You know they are anti-liberal society. But that's not what I see. You know what I mean? You guys see how liberals, the same way Republicans do, they dehumanize who the Palestinians are in a way to get liberal-minded people to support their genocide. I just want to bring that point up because it's like not just this person, it's everyone I was talking to. Like they were like, yeah, I'm glad to see you here. We love the solidarity. We still George Floyd, racial, like all the issues are connected. That's what every single Palestinian I ever talked to said. But meanwhile, there's a mountain of liberals like, man, why are you guys standing for Palestinians? They hate Black people. They hate gay people. You guys see how they use liberal issues to divide and conquer Black and brown people to justify their imperialism? This is an observation I mean. I don't want to hammer the point too much.
It's a good observation.
Racism looks like. Let's talk about what apartheid looks like. Let's talk about what ethnic cleansing looks like. Let's talk about what colonization of indigenous communities looks like. All of these issues are tied up in the Palestinian issue. So everybody has a place here. Everybody can choose to understand and to draw the parallels with the things that they already understand and believe and find those issues within the Palestinian movement.
Absolutely. One of the reasons why I care about this is because if you look at Nelson Mandela, I interviewed his grandson, Nicole Mandela. When you look at Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, and Palestinians, there's been long-time solidarity. We've been through the same kind of struggle. That's why I think it's extremely important for us to come together and fight the same machine that we're putting down. Absolutely. I appreciate your words. Any final statements you want to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just to piggyback onto that, like that's how there are parallels, right, between our struggles, but there are numerous wonderful Black historians, lecturers, activists, community leaders who have gone to Palestine and who come back and say, that can't be sustained. We can't do that. These struggles are not just running side by side, they are intertwined with one another. Go back and read what James Baldwin said when he went to Palestine, what Malcolm X, as you said, when he went to Palestine, what Angela Davis says when she talks about Palestine. There are so many overlaps, and this is important for all of us to be involved, to understand, and to support one another across the board.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It was fantastic.
So, according to the Biden administration and the right wingers who love weaponizing identity politics, like the same social justice warriors they used to mock, this woman I had a conversation with is a raging anti-Semite, according to these people. According to the Biden administration, this person who connected our struggles together is the equivalent of a white supremacist. So you have these protests all over the country. Now we get to the meat of this segment. I saw this one. This one was funny. This CJ in LA.
Yeah, I love that one.
You had the low rider. I just muted here. You can see they had the fucking low rider.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they painted that.
If you look around
like
in these
that.
videos, and I was at a Kansas City Palestine protest, and I mention this all the time. A lot of people don't know how diverse Kansas City actually is. 3 times more than the national average of Black people, large Brazilian, large Palestinian, Latino community in Kansas City. The mayor trying to gentrify that away, but that is a fact. But even look here, look, you see white people, brown people, Latino people, Black people for free Palestine, right?
It was everything there. It was everything.
Yeah, I'm sure you can attest. And I'm literally just put Palestine protest just to show you the massive amount. And this was in the video as well. In the same video, they showed.
I am here.
Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through all of it. But you can see, look at the mix of the people here. Sabby did great on the ground work. The entire RBN community did great on the ground work here. Yeah. Now I know I didn't lost build up to this because I also wanted to cover the protest. Here's a huge protest in Turkey. You can literally go down Twitter. There's countless footage of the protest against the Zionist genocidal Nazi state of Israel. So what is the reaction, CJ, of the West and Israel because of this? They go to their natural authoritarian, violent tendencies. You have the Biden administration that unveiled new actions to combat anti-Semitism on college campuses because there's this mass swelling of international support for Palestinians and simply for not genociding people. Now, the Zionists, liberal Joe Biden and conservatives, they can't call the managers of people in Turkey and South Korea, in the UK and France are protesting, can't they, CJ? They got no way to deal with those people. A lot of people like us who are independent, they can't go after us. Thank God I don't have a manager for many shit lives to call anymore. So who are they going to go after? They're going after the kids. They already putting them on blacklist. And look at this. They're the part that caught my eye. Among other actions, the federal government will partner with campus law enforcement agencies. This is Joe Biden weaponizing the police state. This is Jim Crow Joe doing what he does the most. You're going to have federal government partnering with law enforcement, local law enforcement, in order to crack down on pro-Palestinian, anti-genocide people on college campuses. This is a rank violation of the First Amendment. This is a rank violation of the First Amendment. So they want to go after all the people that are protesting in the genocide. And you want to know what's most disgusting about this? And this is why liberals are the most effective evil. You have Joe Biden and liberals who hired a black woman. That's what they do. They hire our people, CJ, to justify genocide. Yeah. They hire a black face to say the most unhinged bullshit to cover for the unhinged politics of white America and Western society. They hire the most shameless, morally bankrupt, repugnant, contemptible people in our community. Everyone has them. Everyone has these people. That's just garbage. That's just humanity, right? Racists are people who believe that races are different. As someone who's not racist, the same way there are bad people in the white race, or bad people in the black. Like they find the worst among us, and they're like, all right, who's gonna sell us out? And it's not a new technique. They go to like Venezuela. Who want to sell out Nicolas Maduro in the revolution? And they find the worst of their society, and they work for the United States. Who they find in Africa to help sell the slaves? CJ, the worst among us to profit off selling the slaves. This is a long time tradition. Something that liberals mastered, and why liberals are the most effective evil. So they hired the blackface to say some unhinged shit using social justice, woke imperialist logic. Now, this clip is mind-blowing here. And this is the logic they are using to justify weaponizing the police state against peace activists. Listen to the statement by Corinne Jean Pierre.
Biden think the anti-Israel protesters in this country are extremists?
What I can say is what we've been very clear about this. When it comes to anti-Semitism, there's no place. We have to make sure that we speak against.
So she is conflating, calling for a ceasefire, protesting with a ceasefire, to anti-Semitism. Now, you're going to see throughout this conversation, the Biden administration willfully concedes to right-wing talking points regarding this issue. And it shows how both parties are complicit. You guys will see what I'm talking about here
against it, very loud, and be very clear about that. Remember, what the president decided when the president decided to run for president is what he saw in Charlottesville in 2017. When he saw neo-Nazis marching down the streets of Charlottesville.
This is disgusting what they're doing.
Just hatred. And he was very clear then, and he's very clear now. And he's taken actions against this over the past 2 years. And he's continued to be clear. There is no place for this type of vile and despite this kind of rhetoric.
And we hear.
So she's saying that if you are, as Peter Ducey describes, an anti-Israel protester, meaning you call for ceasefire, use these student activists that want to end the violence and want to end the talking of babies. The Biden administration are saying that you are essentially the same as the white supremacists that marched in Charlottesville. And so this doesn't sound as absurd as it actually is. They get a black woman to say it. Do you guys see why liberalism is actually disgusting, morally reprehensible garbage? CJ,
that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying under my breath, man. Like I wanted to vomit as she was talking on so many different levels. I believe she's a lesbian. Somebody told me, or that's what I found out. She's a lesbian.
At least bi.
So she's selling that community out, or she making that community look like imperialist scumbags. She's black, so she's selling that out. I think she's from the islands, so she's selling that. How many different levels of selling out is she doing? And I think she is one of the worst, whatever she's called, press secretaries, because a lot shows on her face.
Yep.
When she does a lot of this looking down, she don't want to look at you because she's fucking embarrassed with some of the shit, especially with that Haiti shit. When they was whipping Haitians and shit off the horses, she was doing a lot of looking down when she was reporting, asking questions on that. Just like right here, because, and this is something that we have to attack, the notion that any critique of Israel, any critique of the existence of Israel is anti-Semitism is preposterous. The notion that anti-Semitism only means Jewish people is preposterous. You see how they just take the narrative? Anti-Semitism doesn't mean you're anti-Jewish. It means you're anti-Semitic. Palestinians are Semitic. You see how they just co-opt that word and understanding because people don't really understand the word. But go ahead.
You see why she's using that language? She used that language, CJ, to justify this. So the federal government can team up with law enforcement to go after the people who the government view as similar as white supremacists in Charlottesville. You guys see how disgusting liberals are and why they're better than Republicans at implementing state violence and white supremacy? Because the Republican will just have like the openly colonizing white guy, like, hell yeah, we support genocide. Get the fuck out of here. Meanwhile, they do this sneaky shit. If you're against genocide, you're anti-Semitic. And then they give the government power to implement state violence under the guise of going after white supremacists. And then they codify the leftists and the worker, the black and brown person, similar to the white supremacists. They're the same way they funded the Capitol Police more. Remember, they said, "Oh, well, we got to fund the Capitol Police, this including the squad, because we need to go after Trump supporters and white supremacists so they don't start another January 6th." And then they went after indigenous protesters and people who were protesting Cop City. You guys see how liberals are the one who implement the most effective form of state violence and oppression? This is what Glenn Ford laid out. One of our black radical ancestors that we look up to. I know some people don't like when we do that, but we're going to do either way.
I don't care, yeah. It's really the choice between horrible rhetoric. This is what they want us to believe. The Democratic establishment want us to believe that horrible rhetoric trumps horrible policies and legislation. Yep. That's what they want us to believe. Horrible rhetoric, Trump calling people racist, Trump being racist, being xenophobic is worse, meaning outwardly. He's saying things outwardly is worse than Joe Biden putting several 100,000 black and brown people, indigenous people, and poor white people in prison with 1994 crime bill. You see what I mean? One's more effective, one's more publicly horrifying. And I grant you, Trump says a lot of crazy, stupid shit out in the open. But who's more effective at getting more terrible shit done? That's the question. We have to stop listening. And this is why I love legacy media dying, Nick. And they're dying by the month, is getting worse and worse. This is why legacy media, I love it, dying, because we have to stop listening to their narratives. And with this pro-Palestinian, back to the subject, with this pro-Palestinian protests, they're realizing we can't control the narrative, Nick.
Yep.
We are, how pro-Israel they were when this first happened, Nick, on October 7th? Yep. They wasn't giving no leeway to no Palestinians the way they're doing it now, how they're even mentioning it. It was just, let's go Israel right now, war, war, war. And it didn't work. And then they ignored the protest, Nick. They thought it would go away, but we're on the third week, and we're probably going to be back on it this weekend. It's not stopping. So it's like, man, we can't control this fucking narrative. So what are we going to do? Everybody's anti-Semitic. Everybody gets an anti-Semitic trophy in this case. But back to you.
Yeah, now it means nothing. So watch the rest of this embarrassing clip. So we already seen her essentially conflate Palestinian protesters with Charlottesville. And I put this receipt up earlier, where there are a lot of people waking up now, especially Muslim and Arab Americans, especially young Americans. We covered how Joe Biden dropped 11 points in Democrats. And I got some hilarious reactions to show you guys on this, because for some reason this video too is another thing that clicked for some reason for people with CJ, because we don't understand what makes people like openly support these motherfuckers and then randomly click like just on one. But this clip was very triggering for a lot of people. I'm gonna show you guys what I mean here soon, but I won't let it finish here, and I'm gonna show you guys some funny reactions to this. But this is as unhinged as it gets in government. If you think the Trump administration was unhinged, which I do, but I don't think Biden is uniquely Trump is uniquely unhinged. This is as unhinged as it gets. Anything you see from the Trump administration, I don't think they top this. That's my personal opinion, but I will accept that if you say they're even, because that buying to no lesser evil. I think they're both fucking crazy. So let's listen to the rest of this clip. I'm gonna show you guys people like I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I vote for this administration. Jesus Christ, my soul will be fucking ruined. Anyway, let's continue.
And he's continued to be clear. There is no place for this type of vile and despite this kind of rhetoric.
And we hear you guys though talk about extremists all the time. It is usually about MAGA extremists. So what about these protesters who are making Jewish
I've
students
been
feel
very,
unsafe
very
on
clear.
college campuses? Are they extremists?
I've been very, very clear. We are calling out any form of hate.
You see how she just accepts the right-wing premise? And you guys see how the right wing became the same social justice warrior snowflakes they used to mock? You making Jews feel unsafe, even though the only people making Jews feel unsafe are you
The
weaponizing the
Zionists.
federal government against anti-Zionist Jewish people. There's anti-Zionist Jewish people that are being made unsafe because of Zionism, but the reaction of the right wing was like, "Oh my God, you making Jewish people feel unsafe because you don't support bombing babies." Like, and then Green, she don't even acknowledge how ridiculous his question is. Instead, she immediately capitulates to it because this shows how liberals and conservatives, they have the same worldview. At the end of the day, they just have different ways of saying shit. If you are a duopolist, you are a deeply unserious person, whether you're on the right or on the left. You guys see how Peter Ducey and Corinne Jean-Pierre, people that are duopolists, CJ, in their narrative, they're mortal enemies, right? But you see how they're doing this dance together to reach the same
Mortal
conclusion?
enemies.
They know what the fuck this is. Anyway, let me continue.
Nick, they're only mortal enemies. They're only mortal enemies on Broadway. They're only, mortal enemies in a video game. Once the game shuts off, they get off and dust each other off. I'm like, you ready for lunch? Let's go. You know what I mean? Walk off into the sunset.
I told you guys, there's literally no better comparison to politics than pro wrestling, fam. Like, when Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock fight, they don't hate each other. They come out, they hang out at the back, and they have a beer the next day. Like, there's no better comparison. Like, once you understand, like, when there's a baby face, there's a heel. Right now they're doing a promo. They're acting. They're scripted. Like, on pro wrestling, they would like diss each other, but they actually love and respect each other. And personally, that's what this shit is to me. That's how I view it. To me, there's no better comparison. But I like this part
Form of hate. It is not acceptable. It should not be acceptable here, and we are going to continue to call that out. And let me be very clear. This is a president that has continued to have that fight in his office, in this administration. When he repealed Trump's Muslim ban on his first day in office, that is something that this president did. He also established an inter-policy committee to counter Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and related forms of bias and discrimination. We have taken this very, very, very seriously.
You see how
from the president all the way on down.
She's using woke language to excuse the expansion of liberal authoritarianism. Now, there are people that are significantly to our right. They even like, Jesus Christ, I'm about to have a hard time writing a book on how to sell people to vote for Biden. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, how am I going to tell people to vote for Biden? That's what I'm going to do because that's what I get paid to do. But how am I going to do this? Like, this is Ryan Grimm, and this is like the reaction of the Vanguard. They were in horror because they're like,
no. Nick, let me chime in. Nick, this could not be the worst. I'm trying to think what could be worse. Not nuclear war, because we was already marching to that, and it was saying Biden is great. Yeah. It could not be, because this is the one issue that they have been projecting. That it's time to pay up, brother. It's time to pay up for all that projecting. Either you was with it or you're not. And it's no way to sell Joe Biden. This is why I say this is the death knell for him. He is now. I was like 60-40. Now I'm like 80-20. Like, whoever's on the Republican side, if they keep with Joe Biden, it's a wrap, man. You know how much enthusiasm. This is not an issue that people forget. This is not Joe Biden did that years ago. No, Palestinians, we watch these videos every day, Nick. Before this happened, October 7th, Nick, literally, I retweet videos from Gaza every single day. Yeah. Every single day I retweet videos from Gaza.
I don't think I talk about anything. I think I talk about this shit every single day, every single fucking day.
Yeah, I don't. So I don't understand. Yeah. But they've been caught where, going back to the topic, they've been caught where, I don't know, either they haven't been listening to their constituency, or they've been listening and they don't care about their opinion. And it could be that. It could be a little both.
This is the part where they realize that RBN been right the whole time, but they can't say it because these are the same people like Ryan Grimm love. Like, why are you guys going after John Fairman? Yeah, he's wrong about Israel Palestine. Like, that's literally the Ryan Grimm left.
Yeah.
But even Ryan Grimm, and maybe you can guys debate me on this. I might be wrong on this, but I do think there's a legitimate part in where they are kind of disgusted by this. You know what I mean? There's that disgust, and then there's that dread knowing that, man, I gotta sell this motherfucker later. Despite that they're doing this shit. You know what I mean? I don't know. But
I haven't seen any tweets from them, so I don't know if you have any. I'm gonna show you a few. I haven't seen any.
This is gonna be funny, CJ. I think you're gonna greatly enjoy this. So this is Ryan Grimm. The White House just compared anti-Israel protesters, the phrase used by the Fox News reporter in his question, to white supremacists who marched in Charlottesville. Listen, this will come from Ryan Grimm. When it is no longer deniable what is being done in Gaza right now, I don't know when that time will come, but it will. There will be a lot of people with enormous amount to answer for. To compare the people protesting to Charlottesville is unhinged. So
he said unhinged?
Yes.
Mr. Unhinged said, Mr. Captain Save a Politician said, use the word unhinged?
Yes. Guess who've been using that
word
a lot now?
This is
what now people started using it a lot. But
now so Ryan Grimm is verbalizing the 11-point drop that we see in the support from the Democrats.
Dude,
and he's verbalizing
Ryan fucking Grimm. And I don't got time to show you guys all of them. If you're interested, look at the reaction to this press conference, especially under Ryan Grimm's tweets. Under his tweet, there are a lot of liberals like, man, this is gonna be fucking hard to stuff. Fuck her. God damn it. Like these people are.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Here's Jason Rosenberg, another person. I'm not too familiar with him, but I've seen like liberal-minded tweets from him. The Biden administration literally just compared Jewish activists calling for a ceasefire to the neo-Nazis in Charlottesville. I'm floored. This is unforgivable. So CJ, once again.
Wait. So see, I didn't understand the reference. So could you make it clear to me now that people are reacting to the reference that she made? Can you make that clear to me again? What was the reference?
Because she's comparing the people that Peter Doocy described as anti-Israel protesters, and he said, "Well, Biden take a strong stand. You saw with our stances on the white supremacists in Charlottesville, we stand up against anti-Semitism." So everyone's like, for whatever reason, this is the trigger where everyone realized how unhinged this administration has always been, like we've been saying. Now, like they say, this person Jason said, the Biden administration just compared Jewish activists to calling for a ceasefire to neo-Nazis in Charlottesville. So this is a trigger for them for whatever reason.
That is a trigger because it's Charlottesville. And you know what Charlottesville is connected to? What they've been selling as a boogeyman? Trump. That's why that's a trigger for them. Wait. They're like, wait. I was at the protest. I'm Jewish and I was at the protest and I'm voting Democrat. And you try to tell me I'm like those crazy people? You told me that was connected to Trump? Yes, that's why that would be triggering. Absolutely. I get it from their point of view, not from me, but go ahead.
Yeah, dude, yeah. So there's a insane amount of these tweets I saw that you guys should look into if you're interested. For a second time, I'll show you guys a few. Like this is another person speaking out against it. Now you have this, which is the funniest part of the whole thing. So you have all these 10 socialist radicals like Hassan Piker. Like these people pretend to be anti-imperialist their entire life, but they vote Democrat, right? So how are they reacting to this, CJ? Listen to this. This is interesting. Rhetoric.
Did she just compare pro-Palestinian activists to Charlottesville? Like the Nazis and the Jews will not replace us? Am I misunderstanding? Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. I might not vote for Joe Biden.
What?
So there's so much to say here. So for one, Hassan Piker, the guy who markets himself as the radical Marxist socialist, for one, he was voting for Joe Biden in the first place. That alone is laughable. You voted for one of the most anti-working class, most anti-black, genocidal motherfuckers of all time. I just told you guys, if I vote for Joe Biden, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. But for some reason, this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, CJ. And even then, I might not. I don't know. I'm considering rebelling against the Democratic Party. This is the guy that people think is a radical socialist. Look, you want
Wait, he's considered a radical. I'm so out of touch of this. He's considered a radical socialist.
He got like 1 billion times more views than we do. He's a fucking, and then people consider him to be the radical socialist, but he vote for Joe Biden. Like, he got the same Vosh formula. I heard that Vosh and Hassan had like a beef before because Vosh don't like how quote unquote far to the left of Hassan he is, but they both come to the same conclusion that you vote Democrat. You guys see the people who are boosted by the algorithm? The people who boosted by the algorithm, it don't matter how radical you sound, as long as at the end of the day, your politics is that you vote for Joe Biden. And when he said this, it clip went around on Twitter. I know you don't on like Twitter like that, but they clip went around. There's a bunch of liberal Hassan voters like, oh my God, I can't believe Hassan came out against Biden. Like,
what are they coming after Hassan? Or are they just surprised? Like, are they coming at him? Like, what do you mean, Hassan? We're gonna cancel you. Go ahead.
I seen support people like, yeah, I agree with Hassan. People like, oh my God, I can't believe Hassan said this. I've seen both, to be honest. Like, because there are a lot of liberal people that turn against Biden because of this, right? So there are liberal some viewers who thought they was radical because they watched Vosh and Hassan Piker, and they are suburban teenagers who are not caring the world, who think they're radical Marxists. And the Israel-Palestine issue was the easiest thing to virtue signal on because the as you said earlier, the payment would never do until now on the virtue signaling. So now the Israel-Palestine thing happened. They see the person they voted for not only being complicit, but saying unhinged shit like this. Let's play his reaction again for people to join the stream. This is the most hilarious part. Because here's the description. And this got a lot of debate. We don't have to go through all of it, but there's a lot of debate over it. After the White House compares U.S. citizens protesting for a ceasefire in Gaza to the 2017 Charlottesville white supremacy rally, Hassan Pikers finally says he will not vote for Joe Biden. That is what does it, CJ. Not arming Nazis in Ukraine. Not literally being the largest eco-terrorist in human history and bombing the Nord Stream pipeline. Not proving the Willow Project. Not deporting more people than Donald Trump. It's this. Which I'm glad this check is coming through because I feel like these people realize they are smart enough, CJ, right? They're smart enough to do the calculation that how much they virtue signal on this issue, they can't falter over it or be the end of their public image, especially considering people will always remember who supported the genocide. So let's watch this part one more time. He just now coming to the conclusion that we shouldn't vote for Joe Biden. But this is the guy who calls like Jimmy Dore a right winger. And this is the guy who smeared RBN because we had the audacity of having a Jones Strike Summit. And then a year later, he had Chris Smalls on and had some union organizers. And they were like, yeah, look, we had union organizers. I'm like, nigga, we did that a year before you. And then when we did it, you said we was grifters. We did a General Strike Summit. He called us grifters. And then he did the same thing a year later. And everyone was like, look how Hassan is a friend of the workers. Anyway, you guys, I got a lot of bit on. Anyway, listen to this shit.
Understanding? Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think. Am I misunderstanding? Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I'm. I don't know. I might not vote for Joe Biden. I don't know. I'm in California. It doesn't fucking matter all that much.
This motherfucker was voting for Joe Biden in California. That's how much he loved him. This motherfucker not even in a swing state. And he was considering voting for Joe Biden. Just to show his audience how much you should do it. Like, he voted for Democrat out of the love of the game, CJ. But literally the entirety, and I've seen Hassan Piker fans because he dissed us who hate RBN. They view RBN as right-wing reactionaries, but they think Hassan is the radical leftist socialist. But he's a Biden voter. Isn't this incredible?
That's incredible.
Incredible.
But goddamn, I voted in every fucking election. I don't know.
He said I voted in every. I didn't see that part. I voted in every election.
I might not vote for Joe Biden. I don't know. I'm in California. It doesn't fucking matter all that much. But goddamn, and I voted in every fucking election.
It's literally beyond parody that there's anyone that exists that think this guy is.
What did they think?
And then
the response would be. What did they think the response would be from the number one ally to Israel? The government that is preparing a almost $15 billion package to go to Israel in a week after the speaker was just elected. I don't understand what did they think the response would be? Go ahead.
CJ, to explain your question, these are the dumb left we've been fighting. Like, I argued with these people and I quoted Biden's record his positions on things. And I'm like, why should we support a person with Antony Blinken as his foreign policy advisor when Antony Blinken is a puppet of Israel? I will ask these people like some pocket that are like, come on, man, come on, man. Trump is worse though. They don't address the point. They're the true dumb left. Like, you can look at Biden's staff and knew exactly what the hell he was doing. I can't see the
Anthony
fucking future.
Blinken?
I can't see the future. He had Antony Blinken as his foreign policy advisor. Like, and historically, the foreign policy advisor always get a job in high-ranking positions. You have progressives voting for a guy who had Antony Blinken on his staff, and now they're like, oh my God, I can't believe they are helping Israel genocide the Palestinians. You guys see how this guy who has thousands, this guy, CJ, I don't know if you know, this guy get like 75,000 live viewers. Like, he would have 75,000 live viewers because he had like a teenage audience live and watching.
Oh yeah, he's completely controlled.
He's like more of a celebrity like kind of person. So what these people do is, like with the majority report in TYT, they cultivate a dumb left. We explained that multiple times. Hassan Piker led his audience to believe that this wouldn't happen. They voted for Joe Biden. So now they call, oh no, I can't believe this happened. Oh no, you guys see how they cultivate this and lead their audience down storylines that leads to state violence and genocide and losses for the left. And the reason why it's important to call this out, because once again, this guy is massively way more influential than us. Why do you guys think the left is in the position that it is right now? Because of people like this who just now, in October 31, 2023, discovered that Joe Biden is bad. Let's see. I got to speed this segment up. Let me see. I'm almost done. Here's another one. I just show a few more receipts. White House. I'm gonna show you just some general reaction. Show why people are pissed. This guy not liberal. He's a friend. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. A Palestinian flag is anti-Semitic, not in our name. Jews are anti-Semitic. Free Palestine chants are anti-Semitic. For Karine, not in our name is the same as Jews will not replace us in Charlottesville. So he bring up how she calling people who attend the protests and call for a ceasefire. She calling them white supremacists, even though a lot of them were Jewish people. You got Republicans calling them anti-Semitic, even though they are Christians. Do you guys understand how crazy our society is? Well, we have evangelical Christians calling Jewish people fake Jews and anti-Semites. And people don't know what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? I got to speed this up. I know this is going on. Let me speed this up a little bit. Here's another. This is another good account, holding Biden accountable. I follow them. He said Biden's press secretary just compared the diverse groups of students standing up in protest against the genocide of Palestinians to the Charlottesville Nazis that his Ukrainian Nazi friends helped train and radicalize. So explain this to me, how this makes sense, CJ. According to the white left, the NATO left, the Democratic Party left, Nazis in Ukraine is good. Nazis in Ukraine is good. Hamas fighting for their right to have sovereignty in their indigenous land, they're bad. They're Nazis. The people fighting against Zionism are Nazis, but not the Nazis in Ukraine that literally worship Stefan Bandera. Do you guys understand how unhinged the West is and why I'm becoming kind of psychotic covering this? Literally, the hypocrisy of this stuff is driving me mad, I think. That's what I think. Like covering this shit every day. Seeing the hypocrisy that most people who are way more educated than me can't call out. Kind of turning psychotic, if I'm being honest. Now here's Trump and the left and Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, Karine Jean-Pierre, Ben Shapiro. This is him all locking hands and joining together to weaponize identity politics to push for authoritarianism. So here's Trump being the least effective evil here, because Trump is saying the same thing, essentially, going after these anti-Jewish protesters. But look at how ineffective he's doing it, CJ. He said, I'll cancel the student visas of Hamas sympathizers on college campuses. All the resident aliens that joined in pro-jihadist protests this month come 2028, we will find and deport you. So this is Donald Trump targeting people's freedom of speech, people's right to assembly. And Joe Biden and Donald Trump agree on this issue. Is it Trump going to say in a way that turns people off? You guys see how by the Biden administration is using woke language, social justice language, like, we got to stand up anti-Semitism. We stand up against hate. That's why we got to crack down on First Amendment rights. Meanwhile, Trump is like, you fucking Hamas sympathizing piece of shit. We're going to fucking deport you. Poor people like, nigga, that nigga crazy. You guys see why liberals are better at selling this than the Republicans? But they are saying the same thing. Do not get twisted. Do not get twisted. I'm gonna show you this this other meme I have. I'm just trying to speed this up because I don't want this segment to go too much longer. Here's another meme, and I'm gonna show you. I think this is a great way to wrap the segment. I probably got like another 10-15 minutes. I'll pass to you, CJ. This is this is the reality of Israel Palestine. This is what Israel actually is. They're the real Nazis in this situation. I'm gonna show you guys this video, the birth of a terrorist state. But this is the person, and I explained many times before. Nothing made Jewish people more unsafe than Zionism. No matter how you fall on this issue, and I like to lean more towards it because there's so many people in this country that are psychotic and are against colonialism. You know what I mean? So I use this argument to reach even the people who are crazy right-wingers. I'm like, bro, what you're fighting for is a failed project. Since I can't reach your morality point, you care so much about Jews you want to kill babies. All right, let me explain it to you another way. Zionism makes life more unsafe for Jewish people because now Joe Biden is teaming up with local law enforcement to go after Jewish anti-Zionism, not Zionists. So if Zionism didn't exist, the police wouldn't be going after the Jewish people, correct? You have people who will incorrectly tie Jewish people to Zionism and target Jewish people that have nothing to do with the state of Israel. Thus, Israel is making life more unsafe for Jewish people. Once again, that's an act that we harshly condemn here at RBN. Like anti-Semitic attacks, violence because they conflate Jewish people with Israel, right? But that's what Zionism is leading to. And what Joe Biden just did and what his administration is doing, they labeled this guy here, this guy, CJ, is an Auschwitz survivor, a Holocaust survivor, who, according to the Biden administration, is a unhinged, repugnant anti-Semite that is similar to a white supremacist in Charlottesville. So as you guys hear this guy speak, I want you guys to remember the position of the Biden administration is this guy is exactly the same as a white supremacist from Charlottesville.
And what is happening now in Israel towards the Palestinians is exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite. They treat them like vermin. They talk about them in terms. I mean, like for instance, the chief of staff of the Israeli army recently. The Palestinians are cancerous growth. I mean, that type of talking is exactly the opposite, and it's actually like Nazi talking.
So what this guy is saying, if I know the beginning was cut off a little bit, he's making the comparison of Israel to Nazi Germany, and he's explaining how Zionists are using the same language, quite literally, as the Nazi Jews. So as someone who survived the Holocaust, he's seeing what the Jewish faith has become, what Zionism is, and he is disgusted. But according to the Biden administration, CJ, this guy is a white supremacist, just like the people in Charlottesville. He's a repugnant anti-Semite. Let me finish his thoughts.
That's what it was said about me when I was a boy, a Jewish boy in Germany under the Nazis. No, when the Nazis gassed the Jews, the world was silent. Now, the world is silent while the Jews or the Israelis harass, humiliate, and steal away land from the Palestinians, and the world is silent.
I just want to read that quote again because our friend's hotspot is how I found this video. When the Nazis gassed the Jews, the world was silent. Now the world is silent while Jewish Israelis harass, humiliate, and steal land from the Palestinians. Zionism is Nazism. Israel is a terrorist state. So I won't condemn Hamas or anyone who fight against a Nazi terrorist state. How is this hard to understand? I'll let the video finish. I'm almost done.
Because any criticism on the policies of Israel is hampered and made impossible by a terrible trick and crime of Israeli propaganda, that any criticism on the politics of Israel comes out is induced by anti-Semitic feelings. And our main purpose is to show to the world that we are Jews and we are conscious Jews, and we want to show that you must criticize Israel if you at all want anything good for the Jews in the world, because what Israel is doing is destroying the Jewish world and the Jewish heritage.
According to the Biden administration, this guy is a repugnant anti-Semite that you can compare to white supremacists in Charlottesville. Now, do you guys see why that video was a triggering point for many people like Ryan Grimmel and others? And trust me, there was a lot of these Biden supporters that had to say something, CJ. You know how they ignore the bastard that Biden do usually? They couldn't do it this time for some reason. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back. So next year is going to be very interesting, CJ. And trust me, I'm going to be here to make fun of all these people that cave, because I heard the same thing last time. I don't fall for it anymore. Because I remember in 2016, I thought no one's going to vote for Hillary. Like, all right, third party movement, let's go. 2020, I thought it was time. Nope, wasn't time. So I think a lot of these people are going to fucking fall back to the lesser two evilism. But a lot of people are condemning Biden, including shitlibs like Hassan, who've been a Democrat voter his entire life, but now done. So I know it's been long, CJ. I'll pass to you for
yeah. So what I'll do, Nick, we can still get
this last thing here. Go ahead.
We could probably get through the same top segments. We'll just do your Ukraine segment at the end. I'll do a couple of segments. I'll do like a 45 minutes to an hour, and then you can end the last 20 minutes with
that's fine.
Ukraine segment. Yeah, we could do it that way.
So this last thing I'm gonna share to tie a bow on this segment. I should have showed this one first. I showed this one too early. I was supposed to show this one after that, but you guys see this is the comparison. This is a comparison that could get me banned on social media. Who knows? But it's facts. I already told you guys my mindset is on site with these motherfuckers, so I don't even care if I piss them off. I dare you to do something. I want it. Like there's a video of this Israeli guy headbutting a protester. Another video of this lady smacking this teenager. I'm like, bro, I will straight up tell these Israelis to their face that you are Nazis. I dare you. I really want make my fucking day, fam, to do something, because they are. Zionism is Nazism, as the Auschwitz survivor explained. Now, this is what a birth of a terrorist nation looks like here. So this is how I'm gonna finish my segment. This is the description. In 1948, these IDF soldiers raped and murdered innocent Palestinians in order to give birth to a new nation. This is the nation that Bernie Sanders and the Bernie Sanders left argue have the right to defend themselves. This is how a terrorist nation is born. So listen to this. I didn't finish it, guys. I only made like 25 seconds into this until I was disgusted, to be honest. So let's see how much we can get to it. I'll read a few of this because it's not for people who aren't watching. He says a state is seized by the sword. That's what my father told me. You take a country by force. My father told me that you take a country by force. And this guy said, of course we killed them. We killed them without remorse. If you killed, you did a good thing. I was willing to kill. I didn't talk to anyone about it. And this guy said, "What about your wife?"
What are you reading? Is it supposed to be on the screen?
Oh shit! It wasn't on screen. Oh yeah.
There we go.
On screen. I thought
the first one wasn't. There you go.
Oh my bad. I thought I had it on the screen the whole time. Anyway, I go back. You guys can read the subtitle by reading out loud for people who are not watching it. Damn, I'm mad at you guys didn't see it the whole time. So these are people who participate in the Nakba, the people who committed the genocide to create the birth of the Israel state. that are just openly talking about their sins, right? Because they're protected by the Israeli government and the United States government.
אבא שלי אמר לי, המדינה מתשווע. הרגנו בהם, בלי נקיפת מצפון.
You see that?
זה דבר טוב. הייתי מוכן להרוג. לא דיברתי עם אף אחד על זה. תוכל להגיד שחיית איתה הרבה מאוד שנים, אני מניח. לא דיברת? אף פעם לא סיפרתי לה. מה אם נספר לה שאני הייתי...
And this guy was asked, what about your wife? Do you ever tell your wife about this? He said, no, of course I didn't tell her. What will I tell her? That I'm a murderer? That I just kill innocent people? He just laughs about it. What am I supposed to tell my wife I killed a few people? Yeah, I committed a little genocide. Psychopaths.
שאנשים היו בכזה טרנס שלפי כמה וכמה עדויות נכנסו שם חמת זעם בכל מי שראו.
He just described a mass murder.
בזמן קרב, אם מישהו הרים ידיים, משהו כזה, לא לקחתי שבויים. כמה אתה חושב אנשים
They didn't take captives.
לא ספרתי.
He asked this guy how many ways. He said, I didn't even count. This is a state that people think is legitimate and that Hamas is in the wrong for finding psychopaths for upholding this tradition. I'm not going to say that. So Israel is a terrorist state, and the United States support these terrorists, Nazi-like government, while calling people who want to end their genocide white supremacists. There is nothing more disgusting than a liberal. The fact that they conflate people fighting against these Nazis with Nazism and white supremacy in Charlottesville. It's insane. B-Much, did I pass to you?
Yeah, I'm gonna move right into it because Erin may want to cut this as part of this same segment. I'll leave it up to her because what I wanted to show. Okay, here it goes. Morning Joe, and I explained this to you, so I'll show a little bit and not all of it. They kind of touch upon this subject, but they do it from a different perspective. Because if you watch the headline, at some point they're gonna bring up the headline is gonna say Joe Biden does something about the anti-Semitic protests around the world, and their whole thing is. And then they cover a news article that talks about the world is becoming anti-Semitic because they're talking about the worldwide protests. So that's how they're labeling it in this. And they're coming from a more emotional propaganda. So this propaganda report, Nick, is like an emotional propaganda that they're trying to hit without talking about any facts. They don't tell you at all what the policy that Joe Biden's trying to do. They just try to hit you emotionally. Let's listen.
Sooner. This whole eerie feeling just took over my heart. Heart sank.
It's NBC's Gabe Gutierrez reporting. Willie, we've been talking about it for some time, and obviously talked about our concern.
Hold on one second. When I put on my earpiece,
not
it does
only
that.
Jewish students but Muslim students. Right now, the uptick in anti-Semitism worldwide, just off the charts, whether you're in Russia, whether you're in London. I mean, you have Jews in London now who were afraid to show any signs of their faith because they're so targeted. And we talked
now, let's be clear. This is Nick. This is how, and I know you can hear, but this is how they're talking about worldwide protests. Because if you weren't privy to the conversation or to what's going on, you would not even understand that what they're talking about is protest. You'd be like, you'd be envisioning like, damn, they're burning crosses, like something evil is going on. But this is the words they're using to describe the protest. So if you remember, one of the largest protests worldwide was in London.
Yeah.
This is what he's referring to when he's saying people in London or Jews in London were so
Also,
afraid. He's referring to that. Go ahead.
Also, what he is not telling his audience is a lot of these protests were led by anti-Zionist Jewish people. So
They always
how
skip
does
over that part.
How does that fit in your equation? How does the fact that Palestinian people are Semitic, how does that fit in your equation? You see how their equation all fucked up? You know what I mean? They just say stuff on corporate media. Deeply unserious. These protests are related to anti-Semitism. So people's unwillingness to stand by as babies get bombed is connected to their opinion on the Judaism faith. That's absurd. But they just say it. Serious, no pushback. This is corporate media. This is the news that many boomers get. You can make the argument that the rise of anti-Semitism come from Zionists like yourself who want to see the Semitic Palestinian people get slaughtered. But let's continue. There's gonna be a lot of time on this one, I can tell. There's gonna be something else.
Yeah, it's a lot.
College campuses.
It's a lot, Nick. It's
outrageous how, and I've heard from far too many people who have children on college campuses that Jewish kids, they've disappeared. A lot of them have disappeared, at times afraid to go out because the anti-Semitism on college campuses, this has always been a problem in America. It just has. Especially in the elite universities, anti-Semitism, we've talked about it. I've talked about it for the last 30 years. Anti-Semitism on college campuses, especially elite campuses, campuses like Columbia have been historically horrendous.
How is it any different than Laura Ingraham?
Now. The leaders have got to step.
How is this any different from what's that judge name? Judge Janine Pirro?
Janine Pirro, yeah.
How is it any different than Sean Hannity? And I'm glad they're saying this because we're continuing to make this point that MSNBC, they're repeating the same thing that Fox News said. Remember what the dumbest person in independent media commentary said, Emma Vigeland? I think she we need to do RBN Words one day because I would nominate her as the biggest of all the dumb love. Is Emma Vigeland. Emma Vigeland one time seriously said, she's like, these people that say there's no difference between MSNBC and Fox News, they're just trying to be sensational. Of course there's a difference between MSNBC and Fox News. That's what she said with her chest out, fam.
Yeah, I remember.
You know, here's one of the lead shows on MSNBC, the number one guy, one of the highest paid people on MSNBC, sounding just like Sean Hannity. Well, let's continue.
Bob. They've got to do something.
And they haven't, by and large. They've given mealy-mouthed responses to most of what we're seeing on these campuses. And you're right, it's not just the stuff we report.
So and I just want to point out, you see now they changed the title, White House taking steps to combat anti-Semitism at colleges. So this is the same topic that we were just talking about.
That we see, we hear it anecdotally, all kinds, and it's not the veiled anti-Semitism we've become accustomed to and we understand has now just become kill the Jews, die Jews, just saying it out loud.
The justification.
What are you talking about?
So I've been following this issue for quite some time. You guys know how disgusting they are. And then if I were Jewish, the same way I'm upset with the Black Congressional Caucus and Democrats for bastardizing our struggle for racial justice, I would be furious if I was fucking Jewish, and a lot of them are. Because one thing they did even before this conflict was they would equate the criticism that AIPAC and Israel bought off United States politicians. They will say, oh, so you think Jews secretly run the world? You think Jews control the money and buy everyone off? What are you, anti-Semite? I'm like, that's not what anyone is saying. We are literally saying that AIPAC buys off politicians to turn to Zionism, to Zionists. So what he said was, before there was like this subtle anti-Semitism. That is what he's talking about, fam. Any criticism of Israel in any way, shape, or form, they turn into a criticism of Jewish people. And I remember before I was informed about this issue, I thought it was true too that people used to have this anti-Semitic conspiracy theory about how Jews control all the money.
I did too.
But no, that wasn't the argument that many people was making. The argument they was making, which is a fact, is that AIPAC and Israel buys all politicians. They have nothing to do with the Jewish people. But anyway, I know that's a long explanation, but I wanted to explain what he's saying there. Like that, even a subtle propaganda jab there. It's incredible. But let's continue. I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot to say about this thing.
Oh, it's a lot, Nick. It's a lot. Yeah. I was screaming at the thing when I watched it twice.
College all over, college campuses all over. The justification of shooting babies in cribs, beheading Israelis, burning grandmothers.
Nick, if you see, she almost broke there. she almost broke. She almost laughed like, come on, Joe. Come on, Joe. Come on, Joe. Don't say that again. Come on. Don't say that proven lie again. Because you know what, Nick? You know they haven't stopped saying cutting off babies' heads?
Yeah. And you know
they haven't stopped saying that?
CJ, you know none of their YouTube pages have been demonetized. None of the Facebook, Instagram channels been pulled. Even though they've repeated this rank blatant lie that literally only the United States and UK believe this. Only the United States and UK media is going along with this. Everyone else in the entire world is like, didn't Israel say they was going to bomb that hospital? Didn't y'all give evacuation orders and then you guys bomb the hospital? Then you guys bomb the hospital after? Like, literally, only people that believe this is it the dumbass United States and UK political system that are spreading this lie, which shows how we said before, it's not about combating disinformation or misinformation. It's about monopolizing it. It's about they are the only ones who are able to have a narrative that they're shaping. But go ahead, CJ.
Just saying it out loud.
And the justification on
watch Mika almost break, and then she catches herself.
Of shooting babies in cribs, beheading Israelis, burning grandmothers, just the worst things in the world.
Right.
And on college campuses, they have people chanting in Jews that this is what decolonization looks like.
And some of them
they are not chanting at Jews.
The word. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, CJ. I'll ruin your moment. Go. Sorry. But he said they were chanting at Jews. Who's at these protests looking at Jewish people like, you're responsible for this? I was that protest. CJ, you was that protest. Did that happen?
No.
And also, one more thing I'm saying before I pass you, I apologize, CJ. But he repeats the lie that Palestinians beheaded babies, but it's quite literally a fact that Israel beheaded babies. And I want everyone to repeat this. Israel is the country that beheaded babies. What do you guys think happens when a baby is hit with a bomb? They are beheaded most of the time. And there have been countless instances of these. A lot of these pictures I can't look into, but they're like, hey, look, there's another baby that's been beheaded by Israel. So whenever you hear someone say Hamas and Palestinians are beheading babies, no, you tell them, no, the country that you support, who you won't condemn, have beheaded babies for years. You guys think the head stay attached to a baby when a bomb lands on it? But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, and I do want to play this last 10 seconds one more time before I talk.
They have people chanting in Jews that this is what decolonization looks like.
And this is the fear, Nick.
Yep.
What he just said is the fear of imperialists, of the fear of colonialists. Yeah. Is the fear is always the fear, Nick. What was the fear doing? It's an uprising from the natives. It's an uprising from the indigenous. It's the uprising from the people that you are torturing. Because why wouldn't that be a normal reaction? But this is how this is the fear that we're hearing about it. This is the fear. We're hearing the fear that, wow, this is what's going to look like if they take over back their land. It's that fear. And it almost gives them fuel as a Zionist to want to fight more because is either me or them. Yeah. That's how they look at it. It's either me or them, and it's gonna be them, and it's tragic. But let's let it play on. There's a lot more to get to here.
And some of them professors, by the way, people who work for the universities. There's been this whole culture over the last 10, 15 years of emotional safety for students. Right. You're in a classroom, you hear an opinion you disagree with. You feel unsafe, and they go put you in a safe space with coloring books so you can take care of yourself.
They bubble wrap everybody, except Jews.
Is this Fox
you
News?
Can be okay with Jews getting slaughtered.
I don't understand what their point is saying.
They go, oh, no,
is this Newsmax? Like this, like their assessment of college campuses is exactly like Newsmax. I told you guys I'm a college dropout, and I will concede I am in the Midwest. But how I hear right winger describe college is not what I've been through. Like you say, like that is absolutely not what I've been through at all. Meanwhile, let it continue. He sounds like the average Alex Jones boomer at this point. But Emma Vigeland don't see a difference.
The campus, right?
I mean, right. Yeah. So now you have actual safety being threatened of Jewish students at campuses across the country, and we're not seeing nearly enough done to protect them.
Nothing. I mean, we really aren't. It's the stories firsthand that I'm hearing, Rev, are outrageous. And I want to commend you.
Let's bring in the black guy.
Your friendship and your relationship with Jonathan Greenblatt and the ADL. And man, you were making good trouble this weekend in Tallahassee, and you delivered a powerful sermon to some college students.
Yeah,
tell us about it.
I was there because of the Governor DeSantis and what he's doing, and Ed Blum and what he's done against affirmative action. But then I met with some students, and I told them the kind of blatant anti-Semitic.
Is it FAMU, right?
No, that did not happen.
Homecoming, and we have a chapter of National Action Network there. And I was saying the blatant anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish statements, and Islamophobia I'm seeing in some campuses around the country. If they were saying this about us blacks, we'd be marching. Why are we having laryngitis here when we challenge Jews, challenge Muslims to stand with us with George Floyd or whatever the case may be?
It's funny. We were going to ask you the same thing, black bourgeoisie. Why are you having laryngitis now? Because people didn't have laryngitis. A lot of people had laryngitis when our ancestors went through this very same thing. So why aren't you speaking up? Instead, you're speaking up on the side of an oppressing nation, and he still calls himself a civil rights leader. That's amazing to me.
Yeah,
this clown, Al Sharpton. Go ahead.
We all know they lie all the time. No, Joe Scarborough always do this thing. Like, I'll talk to my friends about this. You know they lying, right? So he said, Al Sharpton said, I went to these kids and I looked them right in their face and I told them, you guys are being anti-Semitic. Fam, I will bet this fucking channel that did not happen. This man Al Sharpton is in the street talking to nobody. He's in air-conditioned studios with a bunch of people with generational wealth that was ill-gotten. He's in rooms in conversation with colonizers. Al Sharpton haven't had a conversation with an ordinary black person in 35 years at least. This idea that he sold, that he went to some students like, I told them the truth, that did not happen. I won't even fucking justify that with a response. It's so absurd to believe that happened. Anyway, let's continue. I want to hear more. That's so absurd.
All right, here we go.
You cannot have a sliding morality. Either you are morally outraged, period, or you're not. Which is why I stood up with when the Israeli attacks happened. And a lot of people said, well, wait a minute, let's see what happens. What do you mean, let's see what happens? They killed 1,300 people, women, children, beheaded. What am I waiting for?
Beheaded?
And then later I can disagree with Netanyahu, which I do disagree with. One has nothing to do with the other. You don't have the moral standing to stand for yourself if you don't stand for others. And some of this is not disagreeing with Netanyahu policy to say kill the Jews. This is not about whether you agree or not with what the settlements are, which all of us have different opinions. To say you're going after Jews or to say that Muslims ought to go see Allah earlier. This is an outrage, and people that are not Jewish or not Muslim need to stand up and...
I mean, and we've been really straight here. I know I have. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I believe we need to fiercely defend Israel's right to protect themselves. There's 15 million Jews worldwide. There's not a safe Jew in the world today. Israel created because 6 million Jews slaughtered during the Holocaust. And laryngitis is a great word. And where is that happening right now, Mike? I just got back from LA. Let me tell you, Hollywood, like if an acorn falls from a...
Now... here's where the establishment pretends like they don't have dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of Hollywood people in their back pocket pushing this Israeli nonsense. This is where, Nick, they pretend like Hollywood has not spoken up in favor.
There's no
of
way
Israel.
he's gonna sell that. There's
Yes,
no
sir.
yes. You know, I did a video covering this, so I'm actually interested in seeing what he's. But there's no way he's about to try to make this fucking argument.
Tree the wrong way. Then, actors will get out and speak about it, right? Writers will get out and speak about it. Suddenly, silence has fallen over Hollywood. Suddenly, people don't want to get political. They don't want to get political about babies being shot up in their cribs or burned in their cribs, or kids going to a music festival and facing just seriously killing squads reminiscent of the Nazis in Germany going
every time they go into the description, they have to be so adjective filled. Like they overly describe every time they have to, because it's like they know that they are bullies and being brutal. So every time they have to always keep bringing up something in order to even it out. But go ahead.
You want to know why, CJ, that they have to go back to the Nazis? Because if they talk about modern atrocities, they will quote the United States and their leaders. Because the United States took over the mantle from Nazi Germany as the people who support genocide, support war crimes. So you got to go back to the story. Like, man, you guys are behaving like the Nazis. You can't say you behaving like Ronald Reagan in Central America and South America, where they killed hundreds of thousands and tortured millions to place a ton of socialists and communists in Operation Condor. You know what I mean? You can't say, oh, man, you just like George W. Bush and the people who slaughtered the people in Iraq. So they gotta go way back to Nazi Germany, because they can't bring up anything modern that doesn't indict the people that they love. That's my theory, at least. Go ahead, CJ.
That's a good one. Let's continue. It's not over. They continue.
I do want to say this because the comment on the substance just real quick, because the idea that they're selling that Hollywood been silent on this is absurd. For one, I covered there's a blacklist going around where every single Hollywood celebrity is getting blacklisted if they do speak out for the Palestinians. Did Joe Scarborough bring up that? Right? He don't bring up the blacklist of people who've been blacklisted for standing for Palestinians, because that showed that Hollywood is standing up for Israel. Also, there was a document signed by 300 celebrities, the biggest celebrities in Hollywood. I made a hospital thought about this, where they condemned Hamas. They stated how Israel had the right to defend themselves. And this is coming from Hollywood. And anyone who's not saying this is getting blacklisted on the spot. So this entire segment is fake news. This entire segment will get us demonetized. Like everything Joe Scarborough said, he's saying the sky is red, essentially, with everything. Just blatant lies. But I'll let him continue, because I know we got a lot to cover. I'll let him continue.
Silence in Hollywood.
Part of it, I think, is in the coverage. And it begins on day one, 2 weeks ago, when 1,400 people were slaughtered right outside the Gaza
By the way,
Strip
just real quick,
by
just real quick. I'm gonna do a segment on this later, because you know how they keep mentioning this. There've been a lot of reporting. The Gray Zone has done great reporting on this as well. And you guys know I have waited until there have been multiple sources and multiple people speak out on this before reporting on this. At this point, there's been so much report on this, I had to say something, right? Where there are people that was at the scene, including Israelis, that are testifying that Israel shot and killed their own soldiers, their own people. There was Israel that was shelling houses to conflate the death count. There was many people that they thought was Hamas that they killed that was actually Jewish settlers. There was a ton of this going on. So here's the headline. I'll pass right back to the video. Israeli forces shot their own civilians, Gabbard survivor says. And in the Gray Zone, this is another report. So I'm not just taking one source on this, guys, because this is serious, right? Here's another one. How Israel likely killed its own settlers on October 7th, the Gray Zone. So there was a lot of testimonies, evidence, and incidents that showcase Israeli fingerprints all over the killing and burning of settlers in Gaza. Now, what Hamas claims is that they didn't target civilians. They only target civilians with guns who threatened their soldiers. We will never know the reality of what happened until years later. But I am leaning to, at this point, everything they told us on October 7th is bullshit, CJ. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, but I want to mention it now because you guys see they keep bringing up this 1400 number. What is the source for that? This number has been disputed internationally, fam. Like people keep asking, what's the evidence? Because there are people that now there was a Harrods investigation. I'm mad because they got it paywalled. It's a paywall article, but they did investigate. They said that they think that Israel is inflating the numbers. It's more around like 700 to 800 dead, which is still a tragedy, but that's a far cry from 1,400. So I'm not saying that nothing didn't happen, but my position right now, I don't know what happened on October 7th, but everything Israeli said, I am putting in scrutiny. I do not believe it. I don't believe the numbers. I don't believe the baby's been have beheaded, already been debunked. There already been too much stuff been debunked. We would know in a few years, but my position right now, everything they said happened on October 7th, I don't believe. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, so they just kind of now go into, again, I call this the emotional propaganda because they're not at all going into the detail of what Joe Biden is going to roll out. They're just trying to pull at your emotions, whether it's the anger or whether it's pulling at your heartstrings, and which they're going to get to in just a second. It's crazy how they try to pull at different emotions in the same segment, from anger to outrage to your heart. So watch this.
And they came to kill Israelis. No, they didn't. They came to kill Jews. That's why Hamas is in business, to kill Jews, not Israelis. In Atlanta, there's a Center for Communicable Diseases where the government spends a lot of money studying diseases. Anti-Semitism is the oldest disease we live with, and we live with it each and every day. And studying it in this day and age, it's grown explosively. On college campuses, Mimi, everywhere, you wonder, how did they get into college? How did they, with these beliefs, how did they get into college?
Because the presidents of the college can't even.
Are they really this amazed? Is the ruling class is really this amazed because it's large, Nick? It's not like they can say, oh, this is fringe. This is not fringe. They can't say it's fringe, Nick, because it is tens of thousands of people in the streets. Worldwide, we're talking about 1 million people protesting this past weekend. The weekend before that, more than that. They lost the narrative and they don't understand what to do at this point. Do they really think they're going to propagandize people who are in the streets? Those people are the most well-informed. That's why they're on the streets, because they're most well-informed on this issue. You're not going to propagandize those people. But let's get back to the video.
Condemn it. Did you see how long it took?
5 tries at Harvard.
At Harvard.
5 tries.
5 tries at Harvard to say raping teenage girls and shooting kids at concerts and burning babies.
You see how he has to keep coming back to this description like this?
5 tries.
Mike mentioned Mimi. Joining us now, District Attorney for.
Here goes the emotional part. You know how much of a sellout you got to do this? Watch this.
New York's Westchester County, Mimi Rocha. And Mimi, you announced that you will not run for re-election in 2024, and you cited.
She's the one who said that Bernie Sanders and his supporters make his skin crawl. Just to let you guys know. I know exactly what this is, but let's continue.
So listen to, this is where now they're going from anger and outrage to this protest to now, okay, if that didn't get you, let's try some emotional. Let's try some hitting you in your heartstrings right here.
Mike mentioned Mimi. Joining us now, District Attorney for New York's Westchester County, Mimi Rocha. And Mimi, you announced that you will not run for re-election in 2024, and you cited the Israel-Hamas war as one of the reasons. You wrote in part this: as I approached the decision whether to run for a second term, my thoughts have been occupied in recent weeks by the terrorist attack on Israel and the aftermath, which has profoundly and personally impacted me in ways I did not expect.
Quick question, just
can
quick.
You tell us more about this decision and that.
So around 800 to 14,000 people died in Israel, which is tragic. But why is there not this kind of emotional appeal to the fact that 70,000 Americans die each year because they don't have health care? You guys see the gross lack of priorities of liberals, right? Which make her emotional reaction seem so fake and disgusting. You are weaponizing your emotions to promote a genocide, not to give people health care. Because I guess I weaponize my emotions too, right? Because I strongly advocate for my people and giving people health care so tens of thousands don't die. But you see what they weaponize their emotions for? But sorry, let's go ahead. Let's continue.
Yeah, it's terrible.
That factor in your decision.
Absolutely. You know, this was a very hard decision. It's a hard decision to step away from public service. Yeah. But what happened on October 7th, that massacre, has brought up a feeling in me, and I know I speak for so many Jewish people and non-Jewish people who have just been shocked, frankly, at the level of anti-Semitism that I knew was there, but to see it rise up above the surface the way that it has in this country. My father, not some distant relative, my father escaped the Nazis and the pogroms in 1940. Okay, so I am here.
This is the equivalent to a black person talking about what our ancestors went through civil rights, through Jim Crow, in order to sell Joe Biden. It is completely despicable to say your father was the one who went through some atrocities or something, and then now you're trying to use that to sell this. Just despicable, Nick. Go ahead.
Yeah, like you said, CJ, I just double down what you said. These are the most despicable people in politics. We just showed you an Auschwitz survivor, and we play many Holocaust survivors who speak out against Zionism because they see the same thing. Her biggest regret is that her ancestors wasn't doing it in the first place. Like, that's the only conclusion you can come to. This is disgusting. Let's continue. Like, this is very hard to get through, but you get these are important to see because you guys have to see the psychology of these people. These are the people that Emma Vigeland view as superior to Fox News. Do you guys see how ridiculous that is when you actually see this? Right? But let's continue.
Sure. Because he was one of the lucky ones. And so many of us see what is happening now. And I understand now how the Holocaust happened. But what's different now is, first of all, we have allies.
Because, Nick, what they're doing is they're taking the exact phrasing or concepts that the Palestinians should be saying and applying it to themselves. Now they're talking about this is a genocide against them, the 14th. That's what I heard them call it. Oh, the Rabbi Smully called it that in a segment one time that I saw on Fox News. Like, they are taking the language that the oppressed it should be using, and then they're using it just like she does right here. Is just despicable. But this is a settler colonial perspective.
Have people who are willing to speak out for us. And I thank you for that, Rev. And to all of you who are shining a light on this. And we have people in government who are there to protect us. And I need to find a way to be able to use my voice in this time in that way. And I've been the kind of
So, Nick, she said, fighting crime, damn that, Nick. Damn that. Okay, I am now going to be super Israel defender. Okay, that's what
Captain
she said.
Genocide.
Now I have a calling to come out and do this. It is complete. But Nick, understand, it is such a normal way of thinking in the United States, because you have to understand this is what we thought in the beginning when the United States took over the indigenous and genocide of the indigenous population. If you go back and look at old sort of movies like pre I Love Lucy, even in I Love Lucy, there's episodes where they're talking about being afraid of Indians. They're gonna come and scalp you. They're telling stories as if the Indians are the aggressors.
Yeah,
it's the same concept. It's the same concept.
Absolutely.
Why are you killing me? I'm innocent. What do you mean you innocent? This is our land that you fucking kid. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You being here makes you not innocent. You being a colonial settler in these settlements makes you not innocent. That's it's such a thing they don't understand.
It's brain
Somebody
rot.
else did the dirty job. I'm just here taking advantage. That makes me okay. No, it does not. But let's continue.
That I wanted to be. I think I've made the change I wanted to make, lasting change, but also served with integrity. And running for re-election while you're a sitting DA, it wouldn't allow me to be the kind of prosecutor I know to be, which is to keep politics out of it. It's something we talk about on this show all the time, right? How do we keep outside influence in politics out of the criminal justice system, right? Trump influencing DOJ. That's something we talk about all the time. I have managed to keep outside influence away from my decisions. That's how I know to be a prosecutor. And so I feel really good about what I've done and what we have accomplished in the office. And I think it's lasting.
So self-congratulating.
And
like, you guys know, I make fun of myself on this show all the time. Like, you know what I mean? To me, it's funny. It keep you humble. You guys see how disgusting and self-congratulating these PMC motherfuckers are? I feel so good, but the decision I make, I make the sacrifice for the good. What the fuck up?
What are you talking about, lady?
Insufferable. I don't have any intelligent political thing to say about that. To be honest, there's no political breakdown there. I'm just saying she's insufferable. Like the self-congratulation liberal, man. I don't know how people fucking stand these people. I legitimately rather be around a redneck, dude. I sell cars. I'd rather be around a redneck motherfucker than these people. And that's not a political statement. That's just my personal fucking preference. These people make my skin crawl, bro. To take her own fucking phrase. But let's continue.
Never again to allow itself to slide into such barbarism. What do we see now in the attacks on...
So if you see now, because I think she wrote this article, but look at the title, The Global War on the Jews. So now I don't understand why is the Israeli lobby is so powerful, Nick. It's so powerful. They're getting all media apparatus to go with a certain narrative that the uprising, the outrage against what's happening, the genocide happening to Palestinians is a war against Jews. That's what they've gotten everybody to sort of pitch. Like, don't believe your eyes, just go with this narrative that we're telling people is the explanation. And that's what they've decided to run with to combat what's going on. They're just going to turn up the rhetoric in media, Nick, about anti-Semitism.
Jews is how that slide began. Before there was Chancellor Hitler in 1933, there were roving bands of brown shirts inflicting political and anti-Semitic violence on the streets of Germany. They too often went unchecked by police, prosecutors, and politicians who didn't understand the menace, sympathized with the offenders. Does that sound familiar? On college campuses, or merely felt overwhelmed by the scale of the danger. Yes. Hitler gained power in part because the German state could no longer maintain its monopoly on violence in defense of democratic values.
Being on the side of the Palestinian struggle is the same thing as being on the side as Hitler, Nick.
Yep. If you don't support the bombing of kids, if you don't support the bombing of kids and the use of white phosphorus on civilian areas, I guess you're the same as Hitler now, including the Holocaust survivors. You're Hitler now too. If you spoke out against this, and I'll put this comment here where it's just a simple comment. This is batshit crazy. Do you guys now see? I know you guys are my audience. This is for the new people. Now, do you guys see why I say the United States is the most propagandized country in the world? You guys think any other country has media crazier than this? You guys think North Korea and China and Russia media is crazier than this? I watched RT. I watched Russian media. The idea that this is somehow better than anything that Russia and Venezuela, anywhere else, is absurd. The United States is the most propagandized country in the world, and it's not even fucking close. Like, I don't have to add any commentary to this. I think you guys are smart enough to see why this is this is craziness that have been broadcast on liberal news. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, and just to kind of, but because I'm gonna tie another part of this, another receipt.
CJ, you mind
here.
if I share something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, share yours, and then I'll share a different receipt.
I wanted to put
Same
this in
story,
somewhere, but it's not even worth the full segment. But you know how they keep quoting the Hamas charter? They were like, the Hamas charter says that they want to kill all Jews. Now, to be honest with you guys, I never read the Hamas charter because my position always was, it's not my right to dictate how the Palestinians resist. So I honestly didn't care what it said. But after seeing people say it over and over again, the Hamas charter says that we're going to kill Jews. The Hamas charter says this. I'm like, even though I haven't read it, something tells me they're lying. So I looked into it, literally for 1 second, and I found this. I trust Combate, a mutual of mine. They do a lot of great reporting. So this is from, you can check this as well. This is from Hamas charter in 2017. And I'm going to read it, and I want you guys to think whether this sounds anything like what they've been summing up on every single corporate news channel, every single independent news channel, apparently, as well. Where they say Hamas charter said they want to kill Jews. This is from 2017. Hamas affirms that its conflict is with the Zionist project, not with the Jews because of their religion. What did they just tell you on Morning Joe? Why do they got a YouTube channel? Why do they still got a Facebook channel? This is rank disinformation. I didn't care what it says, CJ, because I'm not here to dictate how Hamas resists, period. But I looked at stuff, I'm like, of course they lied. I didn't read it. Of course they lied. Yeah. Of course they did. Now here's another one. Hamas does not wage a struggle against the Jews because they are Jewish, but wage a struggle against Zionists who occupy Palestine. Hamas rejects the persecution of any human being or the undermining of his or her rights on nationalist, religious, or sectarian grounds. Hamas considers the establishment of a fully sovereign and independent Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital along the lines of the 4th of June, 1964, with the return of the that's their ask at the end. That's their demand. With the return of the refugees and the displaced to their homes from which they was expelled. To me, that demand is very rational. What they say here is completely counter to what everyone said, including independent media, about Hamas. And this is where they got it from. This is the source that they use. So you guys can look it up. I just want to interject that because you guys see how different that is than how everybody sums this up in the West. But they want me to condemn Hamas. They want to condemn Hamas based on what, CJ? Shit they made up about them?
Pretty much.
Every group in the history of humanity that ever was formed have outliers that do bad things in the name of their group, right? Everyone. So why you don't make your conclusion on the group based on that, and based on what their overall chapter, what the premise, and what they're fighting for is. So as an independent thinker, especially as someone who's oppositional to the West in general, I admit it. Everything the West told me, I'm like, I don't believe that's true. I didn't read the Hamas charter, but I knew when they said they want to kill Jews, I knew it wasn't true. But anyway, CJ, I just want to add that. I think there's a good part to interject.
No, that's a good addition. So I'll end the segment. Yeah. So I'll end. I'll move to this part of the segment, which is Nick's segment. We went over Joe Biden going after going after pro-Palestinian protesters, what they're looking to do. Then we covered here how they're selling the emotional propaganda against so-called anti-Semitism or anti-Semitic protesters. But so here's more of those protesters, though. They decided to interject at a official proceeding that Antony Blinken was testifying at, and let's listen and watch the protesters interrupt Antony Blinken several times. These are pro-Palestinian, anti-genocide people, did you have any part you want to add to the preface to this video? I know you probably seen some of it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I'm waiting for our segment. I heard this happen. It is good to see the West losing this narrative. So go ahead, CJ. I'll pass to you.
Okay, so you haven't seen it. All right, so here goes the video.
Thank you very much, Chair Murray, Vice Chair Collins, distinguished members of the Appropriations Committee. Thank you for this opportunity to testify before you today.
Populated areas. Stop supporting the genocide and ethnic cleansing of the people of Gaza. Please.
Now, throughout this, because he's going to be protested about 5 times in a matter of 2.5 minutes of this video. This video is 2.5 minutes. Now, it's been cut together. The full video is 15 minutes, but this has Washington Post cut together the segments where the people does it, and it's about 2.5 minutes. He gets protested. Just watch his video and how everybody in the room clearly knows what the fuck's going on. And they're all playing pretend like they don't know that this is the sentiment of people.
Yep, well said.
Let's watch.
Declare now, save the children of Gaza.
Not shrinking back. Not in the face of Russia's aggression against
There goes Medea.
Not in the face of an intensifying strategic competition in the Indo-Pacific and around the world.
If the witness will suspend, and I ask that everyone again respect.
Look at that fucking pig.
We will suspend.
Pig motherfucker. Just real quick, you guys. This is why I say there's no such thing as a good cop. Because if you're a good cop, I'll be like, don't she have First Amendment right? I'm not arresting her. She got first. You guys see their stop raising awareness of genocide. You guys see their reaction in the beginning. He was like, "Hey, stop it! You guys see how in order to be a cop, in order to even get into that position, you gotta be a natural fucking bootlicker. Like, if you think you're a cop to become a good guy, you think you're like Chris Tucker or Jackie Chan or something like that. You would be like, there's no mandate for me to arrest her. A good cop would be like, no, what's she doing? What's she doing as a crime? You just sit there. You just sit there like, no, she's not doing anything illegal. You like, seize her. I'm like, no. Don't answer to you. I serve the people. That's what a good cop would do, right? But you guys know that would never happen. It's even laughable for me to bring that concept up because all cops are rotten bastards, right? But let's continue.
As in so much that we do to advance America's national security, our defense, our diplomacy, our development must work hand in hand.
Committee will suspend. And again, I appreciate that people feel passionately about these issues. I would ask that you respect our witnesses and our committee members and allow the American people to hear their testimony.
That's a bit of humanity speaking, CJ. We talk about this concept all the time. They're propaganda robots and she is doing her job, but a slip of humanity will come out every once in a while. You know what I mean? That whole thing we said, I respect her passion. That's her humanity acknowledging that she's in the wrong here. You know what I mean? It's something they're gonna continue to do their job, but that's like a tell. Like you wouldn't say that if you know you was in the right. You wouldn't respect them if they what they're doing. If you think you're in the right, so that's their humanity coming out while they're even doing their job. If that makes sense. I don't know if I explained it well, but anyway, go ahead, CJ.
No, that perfectly makes sense. The other thing is when you say, how do these people go to sleep at night? Because you might go, oh, they might go to sleep because they don't hear the critiques. So then you ask yourself then today, how does Antony Blinken go back and sleep at night when he hears all of the stuff that people were saying throughout this protest? You're not going to go, oh, wait, some people think this is a genocide? Oh, wait, there's this many babies that's being killed? Oh, wait, how do you, all the people in that room, how do you go back and sleep at night? I don't get that, but let's continue to speed this up a little bit here.
Yeah,
it's only 2 minutes.
I know that several
Committee will suspend, and I again ask that those in the audience respect the people in the room and allow us to continue the hearing. So
this is the other part I wanted to say.
Sorry, CJ, but why should they respect the people in the room when you guys don't respect the lives of humans? You guys see how the establishment weaponized civility against us? What? Come on, man, respect the person committing genocide. Do you guys see why RBN categorically rejects civility politics? That's absurd. But that's normalized. But go ahead, CJ, with your take.
Nick, that's exactly the same thing. I just stopped it. I was just about to say I'm stopping it to say the same thing you just said, which is this is why we should reject civility politics, because if you look at it, now let's just take it broader. Any topic you're trying to stop, how does your topic get through if you abide by the rules that they tell you to abide by? Exactly. How can slavery ever end if you abide by the rules? How can we stop the climate crisis if you abide by the rules and go, let me just take a number and get in line with my complaint? It's never going to be fixed. So they lean on civility politics, rules, decorum, so that other things can't penetrate the status quo. Just need to insert that on why we're against civility politics, because it prevents everything, all other problems outside of status quo from being fixed.
Hearing will suspend until the disruption is removed.
The President and I have both stressed the need for Israel to operate by the rules.
Committee will suspend.
Why aren't they at the table? Ceasefire now! I said to! Ceasefire now!
Nick, the establishment really didn't understand this issue. They really don't understand how people feel about this issue. They think, oh, it's another road like Ukraine. No, this is not. This is more similar to Vietnam than it is to Ukraine as far as the reaction that they're going to get, and they're going to keep getting. When the last time you're seeing proceedings like this with a high-ranking official interrupted? The last time you're seeing that is in Vietnam. The last time you're seeing masses of people internationally out on the streets over a war is Vietnam. Now, we saw some a little bit in Iraq, but I'm talking about at this level, we're talking Vietnam. They really underestimated this, or maybe they really understand the United States behind the scenes. That's why they're trying so hard to pressure them to slow down. Go ahead, Nick.
I think you're right. There's a lot of them underestimating the backlash, but there was also a lot of reporting about how the Biden administration has secretly been trying to rein Israel in. Of course, they would never say that because they're trying to maintain a PR facade. So there's a combination of them underestimating the backlash, but at the same time, they are reaping what they sowed, because I have been covering how the Israeli government have been taken over by the far-right looking party. And these people are legitimately unhinged fascists. CJ, remember the segments I've been doing for the last few months where even Western media were like, yo, we kind of shocked at the direction that Israel is going. So now the Biden administration in West is stuck in a tough spot. The politicians are bought out by AIPAC, so they are loyal to them to the end, to the death. That will impact the future of their career, so they have to follow the line of Israel. But Israel, like you actually made this great analogy, but while the United States politicians are saying this because they bought off, Israel are legitimate fascists who believe this shit to the core, and there's nothing that's going to change this stuff. Like, it's the same concept with Ukrainian Nazis, where the United States, like, hey guys, we got a marketing campaign with you guys. You guys got to stop showing your Nazi tattoos and insignias. And they're like, no, nigga, we proud, nigga. We trying to raise a campaign for the Aryan race, nigga. We not hiding what we're doing. So they had a hard time reining in the Ukrainian Nazis. So reports are that behind the scenes, Biden and Blinken is begging Netanyahu and Israel to be reasonable, where they're like, dude, if you're going to do this genocide shit, if you're going to do this thing where you kill massive amounts of civilian populations like we did, then you got to be smart about it, bro. You can't just fucking bomb a hospital, then tweet about how you about to bomb a hospital. So they're not upset with Israel, what they're doing. They mad at that Israel is horrible at selling their genocide. The United States is good at selling their genocide, but Israel is not following this shit correctly. So the United States and Joe Biden is forced to watch in horror as people will react to how people will react if the United States sold their atrocities as bad as Israel did, if that makes sense. So
no, that makes complete sense. Maybe the segment on Ukraine may have to push that back, I guess, unless I don't know how long it is.
Yeah, we can read super chats and wrap it unless you have anything. I think we got all the headline stories, I think, correct? I'm thinking of doing another nigga CJ. There may be 3 this week because I got a lot covered.
Yeah,
and I have.
So what's going on? Let the audience know. You said what's going on. Like you're better to stream during the day because your internet or something's. You're not going to be doing at nighttime as much or something like that.
Daytime is generally better. Another reason why daytime is better, I got roommates and people that come over generally, and then my stream works well when there's like one person on the internet. You know what I mean? If there's someone on Wi-Fi, that when stream slows down. That's why I try to stream with my roommates when I here. And they are respectful. They try to their best to accommodate, but like for a 2-hour, 3-hour show, it's just better for me to do it while they're at work. So that's why generally it's better for me to do in the afternoon. Not always. Sometimes I can do evening because if they're not there or whatever. But just because we got to be very careful with our Wi-Fi. Like that's when shit start to lag whenever. Like my friend playing his PlayStation on Wi-Fi or whatever, my friend on his computer on Wi-Fi, and then I'm streaming that it's hard. I don't got that good internet here. But anyway,
yeah, we can.
I think we may do a show on Thursday and Friday. I'll let you know. I'll let you know because I got lots to cover. I actually cut like 2 segments today, and we can get to that later this week. And they're probably getting before, so there may be 3 niggas CJs this week. We see. I may do Thursday and Friday this week. I'll let you know. But I have a hotspot video that should be coming out later today, and I'm doing another hotspot video tomorrow. I've been getting a lot of great feedback with them short videos, so I like both formats where I go live stream and then I can do a short video on targeted topics. So I got one coming out tomorrow, today, and one tomorrow. So that's what I got.
Yeah,
and I announced the guests. I'm working on guests, so I get on that soon. But CJ, go ahead. We can get super.
We'll get to some super chats and some other things. So there's a couple of stories we'll push back. Let me just announce those. The Ukraine allies abandoned the proxy war. That's pretty much the Ukraine story. Just tell people what it is. So what is it again? It's Ukraine,
I can do,
Europe, and their allies are pretty much abandoned. Like, give us a preview of what that.
Yeah, you can tell because of the backlash and a lot of politicians who spoke out against the Ukraine war. They have won elections. There have been backfire that have not been covered by the corporate media in Europe regarding this war because they see their politicians being complicit with their downfall of their economic conditions. But how do you, after all the shit they talk, right, CJ? Like they've been talking all this shit about pulling by the loose, y'all motherfuckers going down. So how do you save face? I don't want to spoil the statement too much because it's gonna be a fun one. How do you save face after talking all this shit about this war, pledging full throat support? You use Israel Hamas as a shield. So because of the Israel Hamas war, you have European politicians in the EU that are kind of scaling back their support, and they're doing it in a silent way, and they're using like they're using how loud the Israel Hamas war is as a way to slowly back out. And there's a great breakdown. I don't want to spoil too much of it. We're gonna do this on next Nick and CJ. Even the Times Magazine did an article that you would never see last year, where they straight up throw Ukraine under the bus. They talk about how a lot of funds are stolen due to corruption. You're seeing coverage by the corporate media on Ukraine that you will never see next year. Meanwhile, I don't spoil too much. That's a preview. We'll get to that and all the receipts. Like I said, I'll let you know, CJ, but I got a lot of stuff to cover this week, so we may do an extra show.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll do it again on Thursday. I'll let you know. But let's get to some super chats unless you have anything else you want to add.
I don't know if we have. Do we have any super chats?
We have.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't even see all of those come through. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you showed them on screen or not, but thank you for 499 Sam. Ever notice how Sam Cedar makes the guilt by association argument with everyone within 10 degrees of door being bad? But that's a great point. But look who's on MSNBC. Now, that's a point I made earlier where Sam Cedar and their people swear that Jimmy Dore is a right-winger, but you're on MSNBC, fam. And he didn't go on MSNBC to spread awareness about Medicare for all, why people should unionize. Like, imagine if he did that. He hijacked the channel. No, this motherfucker went on MSNBC to push a Russiagate. Because if I told you guys many times before, I hope you guys don't get mad at me. But if MSNBC say, "Hey, Nick, you're allowed to guest host MSNBC for an hour," I will take it. And then I'll get pushed back. Because people are like, "Man, Nick sold out to MSNBC. How dare you take MSNBC?" I'm like, hold up, fam. We'll just wait. Just be patient. Why, I'm only had the job for like a day or two. I will do a segment about how we're funding Nazis in Ukraine, how Zionists is equal to Nazism, why the police waste our funds and don't actually prevent crime, and they'll kick me off the airwaves within a day or two. I think that's what you should do. But Sam Cedar went on that motherfucker to Russiagate to advocate war, like clown ass shit, right? Let me move on. Thank you for $5. What make from Jaima Madhu? What makes Zionism even more dangerous is that it gives true anti-Semitic groups and even other communities more of an excuse to target Jewish people. Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, just because we don't like a fact doesn't mean it's not true, right? We don't like this fact. We condemn people who would target innocent Jewish people because of the crimes of Israel, right? But that is the sin of what Zionism is. It gives these anti-Semitic people more cover, right, to commit these atrocities. I think $5, Matt. That's a great super chat. Two Holocausts don't make a right. People think that would be obvious, right? I saw someone comment. I didn't put it on the screen, but someone said, "Imagine what Norman Finkelstein was saying in reaction to that MSNBC segment," because he had that famous clip roasting Zionist crocodile tears and how they would invoke the Holocaust. And like, bro, if you know what the Holocaust was, you are actually discussing for implementing that on other people.
Yeah,
like, so for you to invoke the Holocaust to apologize for Zionism, like, don't you know how bad that makes you look? Like, how unhinged are you that you don't know how bad you look by doing that? Thank you for 499 Cobra, common super chatter and friend of the network. It is insulting because Zionist colonizers of Palestine come from Poland after collaborating with Germans and fleeing the Soviet Union. There's another story we didn't get to today. It's on the back burner where there's a bunch of these New York Israeli reservists that are leaving New York to fight for their homeland of Israel. Wrap your mind around that for a second. You have Zionists crossing an ocean. They crossing the entire fucking ocean to fight for what they call their homeland. And you guys don't understand why this is an issue of colonization? Can people in Gaza, CJ, just go to New York? Do they got dual citizenship somewhere else? No, because they're indigenous to the land. Israel is not real. It's European. It was Europeans. Europeans and some other Middle Eastern people from Middle Eastern background that is not from Israel. That's like, hey, I want Israel to be our home because the book told me that it's our home. How do people not see this? It's so obvious. They flying from New York. Like they live in the fucking. They live in Brooklyn and shit. Talking about, I want to fight Hamas for my homeland. If you feel such a strong connection to Israel, like you guys claim you guys do, I wouldn't leave. I'm not religious, so I don't get it. But if this is like the fucking homeland and shit, I wouldn't go anywhere else, right? They in New York enjoying pizza and shit. Anyway, let me move on. I know I got to wrap. Thank you for $5. I don't want to mispronounce your name. Gola, appreciate the $5. Can you guys link that pre-World War I to World War II Zionist history video you played before the most recent post-duopoly show? I think CJ got the links for all those. I wanted to watch the source vid.
Oh yeah. That's an AJ video. It's like a news outlet, AJ Plus News or something like that. They put together how Israel was created. I'll play that a couple of times. That's the second time I played it. I played it a couple of times before again.
Yeah, last super chat of the day. Thank you for $5. Chima. One thing Joe Scarborough will never mention is that Nazi Germany were inspired absolutely by American eugenics and propped up by American corporations. They don't teach you that in school. But Ron DeSantis thinks there's a critical race theory issue. And that's something I didn't know too late in life. Like the Nazis quoted, and one of the ways that Nazis will fight back against the West in terms of propaganda, they're like, why you guys complain what we did? You guys see what you did to the indigenous people? We just following what you guys did. Why are you mad at us? That's what they would say. They're like, why are you looking at us cross-eyed? You guys are lynching Negroes in America right now. We applaud you. Motherfuckers, what you guys playing the moral high ground? And they also took, like Chima said, influence the system that they implemented was inspired by genocides that European colonies did and what Americans did to indigenous people. Once again, you don't learn that in school. I learned that when I was a grown-ass fucking man, and people still think there's critical race theories in our school. You got it, bro. White people, if they actually told motherfuckers what's actually going on, you understand what the most liberal example that you guys can find a critical race theory, it's not even close to what they really should be teaching. You know what I mean? You guys can't teach history, or little Timmy will hate his country. You guys got a lot to be ashamed of. Maybe we should tell the truth about that. But anyway, that's my last thoughts today. I know I was really chatty, but I didn't join you guys yesterday, so I apologize for that.
Yeah, no worries.
To you, I'll let you know on my schedule. I may do Thursday and Friday, but I'll let you know. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, you know, around this time slot, I'm usually open. Friday's a little bit more loose, where it might be more flexible, but we'll be in contact. I'm gonna end with this Malcolm X talking about Palestine video. So red super chats, everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Watch this video, Malcolm X on Palestine.
The Palestinian struggle is not just a cry for justice. It's a blistering battle for the most fundamental human rights that every living soul on this planet should inherit by birthright. It's an unyielding resistance against the oppressive, suffocating grip of occupation and the callous denial of the most basic human dignity. Just as the civil rights movement in the United States fought against the chains of racial discrimination, so too do the Palestinian people strive to shatter the chains of occupation and tyranny. Never forget, my friends, that the Palestinians, much like African Americans in the United States, have been subjected to a heart-wrenching history of suffering and torment. The birth of Israel in 1948 brought forth the mass expulsion and dispossession of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their ancestral homes and land. This is a historic injustice that continues to haunt the lives of Palestinians to this very day. The situation in Palestine serves as a brutal reminder of the consequences of colonialism and the ruthless dispossession of indigenous peoples. It is an agonizing reminder that the fight for justice knows no borders, and we must stand united in solidarity with all oppressed peoples, whether they reside in the United States, South Africa, or anywhere around the world. Let's be unequivocally clear. Advocating for the rights of the Palestinian people is not synonymous with denying the rights and security of the Jewish people. The fight for justice in Palestine is not an assault on any particular group, but an unwavering stand against the policies of a Zionist state that has for far too long stripped Palestinians of their rights. We must remember that numerous Jewish voices also resound in the calls for justice and peace in Palestine, and their voices must not be silenced. In our relentless pursuit of justice for the Palestinian people, we must also acknowledge that it is in the best interest of the entire world to seek a just and enduring solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It is a pursuit in the name of peace, stability, and the dignity of all mankind. But let me underscore this. The battle for justice in Palestine is not merely a political struggle, it's an elemental moral battle. It's the fight for the most basic human rights of a people who have suffered these injustices for far too long. It's the fight for the right to exist in peace and security, free from the ceaseless specter of violence and dispossession.